I just saw Ron last night. He didn't say anything.
I know that with his work, he's kind of
He
right at
he has a little bit of a problem because he works.
down.
Well, his schedule is like he usually works till like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
But I think he generally tries to work from home when he has meetings. Like last night, we had one at 6.
Oh, I gotcha.
And so,
Well, I'm going to come over in case no one else shows up, and then it would feel weird that I saved a spot for someone
and Corbett,
who's not coming.
I've heard people that.
well, he just sent me his list last night, so and he didn't say anything about not being here. So, I think, and then Sandy, is she here?
I'm not very.
Okay.
They all felt like
Well, we'll give
February
every-
was enough. They
We'll
were like,
give
they were like,
everyone
we're all
a
set.
few more minutes.
I love that you got this all in one spreadsheet. That's pretty good. Printed.
I have to admit, I forgot about the amenities priorities list. Like, we should have done this last month, probably.
Oh, this work?
Yeah.
Well, I think it did definitely influence how many of us were like, yeah, that's super important. We're going to do the rec center. So, you know.
Yeah, that
yeah. And it is important. It's just, but I think it totally, it influenced me. This was my only time I'd gone, so.
But it is interesting because things change each year as far as like kind of what makes it to the top. Because I was a little surprised that the skate park did wind up as high as it did.
Is that the one by the pool? One of the pools?
Well,
The
so
South pool?
there's the existing like skate ramp, like and rail slide up there.
Yeah.
So we've kind of talked in years past of whether we need like a full-on skate park. Like if you go to Louisville, Lafayette,
Right.
most of the other cities, they have like a full, concrete,
Right on time.
I love how,
in-ground,
like, everyone's
like,
coming
type
with
skate park.
caffeine.
So we've
The Mountain
we've
Dew
always thought,
action.
well, would we do something like that?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I
now
feel you.
we're also we're in a
over here.
position where
Man, I
Never
used to
sat
live
this
off
so
of that
ramp
stuff.
at the South
You can
Pool
sit
is in
here.
disuse.
I don't want to separate
Oh,
your
okay.
brotherhood.
It's actually, they have it actually
It's
roped
happening.
off.
Trust me, it's all
Oh,
good.
really?
So it's like, well, do we just repurpose that entire
Well, that's the
little
thing I said I was going to help
Yeah.
with.
as a new skate
I
park?
know. It's
Or
actually-
do we still talk about
it's actually
something
just
separate
this.
as
Oh, it's
well
just that.
as,
Oh, good.
Got it.
It's just that
maintain-
part.
doing maintenance on
Oh, that's
the
no big
existing
deal.
one.
See,
Do I
that's
just
the
edit it
detail
for
that,
grammar and
like-
punctuation?
So that's why
Because
I
I'm really
added
good
the
at
little note including improvements.
Sure.
at South
Yeah,
Pool.
sure.
Because this could
That's
be
a
a
thing.
skate park and or improvements at South
okay.
Pool.
I mean, there's a lot of just like graphics and stuff in here.
Ah,
Okay, that makes sense.
Outdated and
okay.
updated information.
I mean, again, this stuff is
just a
very
yeah,
general.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's
I
we're
still
not-
my
we're
favorite
not
is like
really thinking
beginning.
of it
Who's on
as
it?
this
who's
is
on
an
it
item
and like
that's
how
gonna go
PROSTAC used to be broken.
there.
Ah.
There's like lots
Here.
of history.
It's
Yeah, it's
an
like a
item that we
lineage
just think
holder
the town
of
needs, and then we
PROSTAC.
can figure out a place for it later.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
And
You'll
some
call me
of
when
these
you want
items,
help.
In all honesty,
No, I think
may
I'm-
never find a home in Spirit because we don't have that much land.
Document so we could do a live.
Oh,
So
cool.
when you start
Okay, so
talking
we have
about
it on the-
things like
cool.
I'm working on it.
youth baseball field,
We're working
No rush.
something that's actually gonna
It's a
take
busy
fair
time of year
amount
at work. I'm
acreage.
okay with
Yeah.
not doing anything
we're gonna
else
have a harder
for right
time.
now.
Well,
It can hang till April.
right, and like for the community
At the
garden,
indoor
I didn't
space,
know if that meant like a
annual
small area where people
update.
could plant, or
Is this
like
my-
in some
Amenities.
they have acres
I
of
know, you got it on
gardens
the like
that
one and
people
a
can actually
quarter page
buy
on the back there.
produce from, instead of like
Arbor
a
Day
grocery
celebration.
store.
Oh, right.
So there's differences in community gardens.
This,
So
this is the more common
Okay,
community
cool.
garden
I feel good about
where
that. And I'm not going to be here
there's
the
a
April
certain
one.
number of plots. Usually there's more people that want them than can get them, so you have some type of lottery system
Oh,
for
look,
the
you all
plot.
wrote, like,
you get the
notes.
plot for the season.
Oh, I should have written notes.
You
Got it,
grow
okay.
whatever
I
you
only
want
wrote
to
notes
grow
on a couple
there.
You and
It's-
Jacques,
it's
like,
pretty
Jacques wrote
low
on
maintenance.
everything.
It's,
Jacques
it's
is-
usually,
Shit. Man, I gotta get
the
my, I
plots
gotta get it
are
together.
established.
Well,
and
after
then
one
you
meeting,
just
you should
have,
know
like,
everything.
I
that
should know.
goes
Well,
into
he
it.
was
and
only
then
on one
you
meeting
maintain
too.
it yourself. The town really isn't doing that much.
I get competitive.
Each person is maintaining their individual garden.
What's the deal?
And then
Everyone's rolling in
usually
slow.
have it for a year. Then you have to enter a
gentle-
lot
I was
of
racing
different
down the hill.
It's a
because they're
soft
almost
start to
always
this one.
too small to satisfy the
Right.
demand.
okay, that makes
I'm
sense.
surprised no one else wants a community garden. I thought that was really cool. I really liked that idea.
It was part of the original
Community garden.
El Dorado plan.
But then maybe we
Yeah,
don't
but
need.
that was almost more of like a kid's garden
There's a
for
lot
the
of,
school
Right.
than
Yeah.
really the community.
I'm cool with that too.
The-
Yep.
The issue is,
Yeah, that's a good
is
point.
that
That's
pretty
why
much
I
no
asked
matter
in
what
that
we
email
do,
that I sent.
it's not gonna be big.
Does anybody have the?
Like I was just saying, Jen, there's almost always more demand than the size. I mean, you,
Yeah.
But yeah, so I basically just kind of looked
you
at it
know,
at a very
three
general,
over 3,000 homes.
just general perspective without the
You're
detail.
gonna have, even if you had say 100 plots,
Yeah.
you're probably gonna have more people that want it, so
Right.
that's your water system.
Right.
And so it's kind of like one of these things where we've always kind of shied away from
Yep,
it
very true.
because
Yep.
how big would it be,
Yeah.
how small would it be?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that we are not
But
looking at the.
we can talk about it a little
For me,
bit more,
some of the
'cause
things depend on.
one
the
thing that's
program
been
itself,
kicked around
because
a
I was
little bit
thinking,
in the
when I
past,
saw
but never
outdoor
really
pool,
gone anywhere
we
is
don't need an outdoor pool, we
repurposing
already have
children's
it.
park.
Yeah, I start thinking.
Oh, yeah.
Here,
There's a lot of
will be
people
that
coming
big
here
Yep.
to
garden
this
state
area.
park, because the residents
And
of
they
the
Not
get
this
pretty
year.
full,
don't
and the
particularly
pools
like
get
it
pretty
as a
full.
park.
Exactly,
Yeah.
not
The
this
granted,
year,
I
but
think
I
they
mean,
would like
we
it
want
as
a pool
nothing.
that is nice.
They
Yeah, they
just
probably
want-
just want it as like,
They
there's
just
no
want it.
neighbors
Well,
there.
it used to be grass.
Right.
It
Yeah,
used to
if
be-
they-
actually,
yeah.
it used to be like the town's football field.
Also, when you walk through that park, those dogs on both sides, they bark like nonstop. So like anyone that's in that
Yeah, I
park,
agree.
those
That's
dogs are
a-
just
that's a
barking.
fact.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing.
I've
we don't.
It's not
honestly
good.
never
We're
seen
doing
it.
it because we're
Oh.
growing.
Well, I walk through it sometimes as I cut through the open, to
I
the
think,
trail
yeah, that's,
back
I
there.
think
Like sometimes
one
I'll
of the
cut
things that
through
kind of
that
makes
way.
this difficult is not knowing that.
And I walk with my dog, who doesn't bark at anyone, but we get barked at every single time we go through it. It's like the whole neighborhood is suddenly in an uproar of all the dogs.
Some of these
And
things.
yeah, so I can see how it wouldn't be enjoyable
Oh,
if there were
yeah.
actually kids there, because those dogs are probably
Okay.
barking, because people don't know
Well,
what to do
but
with the damn dogs.
Elm's Park is so close.
Yeah, and it's
And it's
great.
got a lot, a lot better.
So many
places.
amenities, yeah.
So-
Yeah, Founders Park is awesome.
Sexually transmitted.
Oh.
Doesn't she have a gavel?
Actually, I don't know what that means. What's-
No,
Superior
it's always
consent.
like, this is the news.
You should ask Peter.
Corbett's running late.
Here right now.
I just thought it was some
I
weird
feel so
code.
silly.
Was it like not at the last meeting?
I'm glad to know that.
Okay. Yeah, I had no
Well,
idea.
Well, I just
Now
saw
that
some,
makes
it
sense.
said like
Yeah,
that
I
the
felt so silly
other
asking
Sandy
him.
was,
Mayor Pro Tem.
yeah, so
So
I
that's
guess,
basically mayor.
When he's not there.
Yeah, next time you know the
yeah, I just.
You always have a backup.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, in
You know,
case
like
he's,
kind of like
in
a
case
vice
there's a
president.
bombing
Okay.
or something,
Just in
yeah.
case, yeah.
There's a president pro tem too,
That is-
in
Yeah.
addition to vice president.
Well, there's
Well,
no
like-
one.
His whole lineage.
Yeah.
Eventually.
So
I'm a little
sometimes
bummed I don't even get
Superior
recognition
has,
with the
like,
vice chair
outdoor
with
movie
quotes
things.
after.
God.
So
Vice
Oh, you
chair,
didn't get it?
like
Nothing.
allegedly.
Nothing.
Yeah, we're
Oh,
gonna get going.
Let's do it.
and that's again.
Where's my
Let's get
little
this-
parentheses,
Let's get this
vice
party
chair?
going on. We got someone else.
Anyway, it's,
But all those things are.
Okay, so we're.
It's all about the title,
I think
This is still-
right? That's why we're in
I'm,
it.
I'm glad to hear that someone else didn't know what STC means.
yeah, I didn't know.
Well,
I thought it was
so
some
ridiculous when I asked you.
That what you-
Superior
what
consent,
means?
of course.
STC, Superior Town
Oh,
Center.
Superior.
Oh.
I thought it was some weird like accounting code, so I just kind of.
These
ignored
are-
I
it.
think it
Sound
sounds,
transmission coefficient.
Okay.
You need
I
to.
never wanna know what my
I think it
teenagers
sounds
were-
like a
were
sexually
getting.
transmitted disease, personally.
Well, and technically it's called Downtown Superior. So, all right. Let's call to order this meeting of PROSTAC, March 15, 2017. Hopefully Corbett will be here. Susan Stanish is absent. No public is present, so we'll skip public comment and move on to the first agenda item. So we're going to continue discussion of indoor space survey and the general review of a rec center. So the way we left it last month is we basically, before we want to make a recommendation to the board regarding indoor space, we want to get a little bit more detailed. So what we're going to do this evening is basically take more or less the card game that was done previously with some public engagement, which is take a whole list of amenities and form like a design concept for what would be in a rec center. So we have a list of amenities that was basically whittled down from that previous card game, and then we're gonna just break into, I think, maybe like 3 groups, and just really quickly
Two, two, and three.
discuss amongst the groups which amenities we really would like to see based on, you know, what we've glanced from the indoor space survey, some of us that have been around long enough, you know, what we've heard from the public engagements. And then just generally, you know, if you're pretty aware, if you happen to be aware of what's in surrounding communities, rec centers, what you like, what you think is going to be well received here. We'll just go through the list. Each group can check off the amenities that you would really like to see. We'll gather back together, and then basically where we differ is where we'll discuss. So if we're all in agreement that, say, we need to have, you know, a gymnasium, then there's no reason for us to discuss a gymnasium. But if only 2 out of the 3 groups has, you know, a leisure and competitive pool or whatever, we can discuss that topic. And hopefully when we leave tonight, we'll have whittled it down to a facility of amenities that staff can get updated pricing on. And that's where we'll come back next month, is we'll come back with kind of a pricing model, and hopefully staff will also be able to break that cost into what the ballot question would need to ask for as far as like a tax increase. And then we would be able to make a recommendation to the board has all that detail in it. Exactly what amenities we're recommending, how much it's going to cost, what it's going to cost to the actual voter. And that's about as far as we could go at that point before we had to basically go back into public engagement and everything. So I guess let's just do 3, 2, and 2. And if Corbett shows up, he can join a group. You only really need one as a group, so.
Do I have to duke it out with Ron over here?
Work it.
Perfect. Yes, no,
I
maybe.
think it's interesting that
Yes, no,
you
maybe.
two are the only 2 that had the high for all 3 of these.
I know, I looked at Corey's, like, comments, and I said, I think we're the same.
I was like, you ranked them the same.
We did not.
So
No, we
3.
didn't. Did we?
Yeah,
2
1,
and
3,
2.
and 2. You did.
Yes.
Okay.
However
You,
you
it's a
wanna
little
do it.
creepy. I'm just, it's rigged. I'm just
You
saying.
can do it. Kelly.
Okay,
That's
Well,
fine.
we-
All right.
I'll
So,
send mine to Peter and then fill this.
okay, sounds good.
It's fine. You guys confer on everything. Okay. So this is just picking our, how many do you want us to do?
Just trying to figure out what we want in the rec center.
Well,
Is it just more?
facilities.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Peter,
so-
just indoor, right?
Focus on indoor?
Indoor facilities.
Indoor, and how many are
Yeah,
we
everything
selecting?
on here should be indoor.
3?
I don't- I'm just-
3?
3 or 2? We're supposed to be selecting. You want 3 be selected out of the groups?
You mean amenities?
Yeah.
No.
Just select which ones you want.
Amenities you
Oh.
And then after you pick which ones you want, I'll see if my list matches your list.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then
So-
it gets all Hunger Games.
So the final comment I will make is base yourself in reality. Like, we can't check everything on the list. I mean, that's clearly going to cost too much. So we need
Yeah.
to have some restraint as to what we think is appropriate for the size of the community.
Okay.
You know, clearly if it's going to add up to be like a 90,000 square foot facility, it probably is going to cost too much.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, if you feel really strongly about something, that's where our discussion is going to come. So if you want to go big, go big.
Yeah, that's
And
what I was going to ask you, because we don't know if we're going large, if we're going medium square
Yeah.
footage on the building. So
That's what we're going to find out out of this exercise, is where we really end up.
Yeah, so, okay.
See, I don't know the differences.
I think we just got to do the best we can.
So,
You want to start at the top? Or just
yeah. I would almost be really square.
Oh, I think that's.
I mean, we can add it up at the end if we want to.
But it's really just the
I think right now we just want to do
Okay.
Absolutely.
What do I not want to see in my?
I think required building support, I think.
Build the rec center. That's what
Yeah, the
I.
first
Yeah,
two
that's like
are pretty much
hallways and
required.
offices, so that's basically.
The library, we kind of had this
Those two,
discussion.
I mean, that's. all.
Yeah, the library, library.
Let's start with library.
Let's put a.
Somewhere else.
Spaces and listing.
So we don't necessarily have to do it at the same time.
I'm gonna put an
Yeah.
X if I don't.
All right, so now we have to choose. I say
Community
I'm gonna
room,
put a
yeah,
question mark.
that's one.
So first,
To go in one, or you can
Which
go
are
in
we
library.
So I'm gonna just start with this.
But you're right, I mean,
Because
that's
that's
another kind of
crazy.
non-recommended that we could choose to leave out.
Which would we prefer?
because that
25 yard.
So I'm open to hearing what.
And for community room, is that the kind of thing where some, like, people could rent it out for a kids' party or something like that? Like, what is the,
Well,
what's
so
the
this is, so
usage
this
of
is
that?
saying 160 so that would
And then
be
you
quite
have-
That's
large.
a big hall,
I think it's
yeah,
actually.
yeah.
So that would be more like a space that you would rent.
So it's
you would
essentially a
rent out
library for
banquet
digital.
rooms,
Yeah,
right?
like reception,
Kind of.
yeah. So it's a potential
And
money,
It's a potentially money generator. Generally, those spaces
Yeah,
can also
plus
be,
I
don't know what
because
these
they're
are.
so big, they can.
You want it to be a full
house
limit.
right,
So they
right.
can be like made
Like a
up
conference
into,
room.
say, 3,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
60.
25 yards,
Yeah.
25 meters is a huge
Whatever
difference.
that breaks down to.
So
It
there's
could
other
potentially be, I was just thinking like of overflow if there's, for the hotels that are here, like, I don't know what's being built for like conference space, but like,
Yeah.
could potentially be something that's used by, I don't know, if there's somebody based out there, so. Okay, so that's a big thing.
Fourth of it.
So that's,
for example,
that's quite, I mean, that's a question.
So no matter what, I say, do we
Or,
Yeah.
25 years in class,
or
that's
community like
not
less
really to
than
be
like a
confused with wet classroom party rooms and
I don't know about that one.
more kind of
the one here
the
is
tall.
I mean, 800 square feet's pretty small.
Wait,
No, the 25 person aerobic dance.
okay.
Where's my?
So
Either one, or
I would say,
just put a friggin' line through two kids.
I would say in more of a rec facility, you would probably skip the classroom.
Somewhere between the 33.
This is where we start kind of.
And also how often is it?
If you want the senior and studio,
Yeah, this
So
depends.
Yeah.
or if you're gonna have such a big kind of banquet
Maybe it's
hall,
not necessary.
do you have the warm kitchen? You're gonna have rented it out for like events and then like catering, setup space. So that's more kitchen.
Make this a little
So
easier.
Yeah, I'm a little.
You're not gonna do like
Yes.
the community.
Just
room.
'cause I don't see it as
It's not
a
gonna be
Okay.
the same lounge. You probably.
So that, I think that would make more sense if it's like,
that's what
okay,
you
we have like a
usually-
space with
Yeah.
We'll go with this and see.
classroom.
They seem to be very popular in the years, and we really don't have anything consistent. I know we don't have any.
Yeah, yeah. Would it be helpful to start with the things that are really
Well, yeah.
only
Right,
related
size
to the
class.
senior
Yeah.
So
rec
let's-
center?
yeah, so
Like
let's
start with that
so
stuff
let's
and then
option.
add more?
So we'll start with,
I would agree. I think the library should have.
There you go.
I would say yes, so pool.
So.
See, it's a 3-in-1.
One of them, yeah,
Dude, that's
probably
what
not.
So-
I'm designing as I go.
I would say, because personally,
All right,
if
so
you're gonna do a pool.
children's indoor
specific kind of
play-
items,
playground.
You're gonna do the pool, you pretty much do it.
Classroom.
Yeah,
In the sense that, not necessarily big in, like, size, you don't have to have like a size center.
but in like the usage of it.
But you would
Figure if
want to
you're gonna do
have
a
folks
physical
that can have
so you gotta do
because the whole kind of discussion of pools always sort of back to
Where's my whiteout?
the high school.
No mistakes here.
That type of thing, where you potentially are getting some facilities or speeds to that. So
I don't like this
Okay, let's
version
say
down
we do-
here.
I would say that to competitive and so you have
So yes,
pools,
required
like,
buildings
you
for
have like a competitive
Yes.
pool for everyone else.
Facility administration space.
Plus, you can always downsize.
Yeah,
Like if
Well,
if it doesn't
that's the
make
thing,
it.
I don't know if
If you get
this
this, you
pool
don't
has necessarily has to be 25,000.
So let's put those
You know,
on
they
like
have both at Lafayette, I'm pretty sure it's not 25,000.
teen and game
Yeah.
studio. I think.
Yeah.
that would be-
Okay.
So-
Let's say that's a potential.
Which means that you're pretty much.
Yeah, what do you think?
saying
I mean,
No to the
no
other three.
To the other three.
Yeah, okay. Look, we just got rid of 4 things right there. Look at that. That's good. It's progress. There's a climbing wall here, and there's a large climbing wall there.
I
So
think
do you
that
think
was.
we want a racquetball court?
Oh,
I think
okay.
that was the climbing wall got added because we thought it wasn't on there.
Oh, okay.
So.
Climbing wall,
No,
is
what
what's
is
inside.
I think the climbing wall is a cool idea, especially because people of all ages, I mean, like kids can use it too, and, you know, it's very Colorado.
They're very.
Well, I think you should have either the
Yeah.
half
And
or
so I would think that it would be.
A lot of that would be, definitely support for our seniors.
Okay.
Because if you think about county, Eastville City,
I mean, everyone here, you usually have to sign a
Sign a waiver to use it.
Basically, I don't know.
They could do some better ones. Yeah.
Come on, I mean, where are we at? We're out here in Dumbass, like, so we definitely need, just the way I feel about it.
So we want aquatic support, yes.
I would think, you know, they're probably gonna have a blanket policy
Movie night,
still.
knitting night, or.
If you're
So it's
trying
like,
to waive.
I, so that's an example of something I think we would make much more use of.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't take up that much space, and it seems like it would be a cool, popular thing to have.
So, just in the interest of time, I'm trying to find something.
Yeah, that's another.
Which comes with it.
It's, you need to have the
Package
aquatics.
deal, yeah.
That's, you know, like the
Jog, walk, track, yeah.
the filter.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
Job, walk track, I mean, that actually is.
plus I'd like to go to a gym.
Same with the fitness room.
Well, I think fitness room you gotta have, I don't know about the jog and walk track, I mean, I think of the
I'm
gyms
not
I use
going
that
to
never
I wanna
had
see a
that.
basketball.
I don't know. I mean, it seems nice if there's space for it, but.
It's,
Yeah, what else is
Yeah.
it is disturbing if you go and read it. It actually is one of the higher.
Basketball court
It's
slash-
below like the pool
Okay.
fitness room, but it's up there. Because it's more of an inclement weather. And then also,
I wanna write it.
do something.
Yeah.
So jog, walk, track. Okay.
And not mall walk.
And the thing is, you know, we live in Colorado,
Yeah.
so
Usually,
5 months out of
like,
the year.
if you ask anyone, like, why not? So,
I think that would make sense.
You could tie it with all their
In the middle of it,
Okay,
yeah.
and so people
So
are
this,
always
so I got
interested.
large
But if you
climbing
do
wall.
something like, I think Erie's is like this.
Climbing wall
where
doesn't have
it's
it.
Around the edge of the top?
the gymnasium.
Oh, okay.
So, and like the Lafayette YMCA is like one table. And so it goes, it's like basically upstairs in what's.
Yeah,
covered by
I've seen it
some huge
upstairs,
space.
yeah, I've seen that.
Oh, here it is,
So
single
it's,
middle
you know, it's
school
like an
gym.
elevated, it's elevated above the
I
other.
mean, maybe I'm just not well
Single
informed,
middle
but
school.
I think that's kind of an issue that there's only a handful. I think it's cool.
And then it's
right?
sort
It's
of a,
cool. I think it's an
is
attraction.
it one or the other?
But
This
Yeah,
aerobic
so
space, which is like a classic
so it's not-
space.
Yeah.
45
The only question there really is.
But again-
if you have like 2 or 3 of those.
Oh.
Do you only have
want 6
one,
hoops.
or do you have, because those.
I actually think for the same amount of space for
Classes,
racquetball.
Yeah,
dance
yoga.
classes, yoga, Pilates.
Because
I think
racquetball,
probably
again,
use
you
that
got all
as
ages.
more cross
You know,
stuff.
Yeah.
climbing wall is really.
But for something like a spin class, so that's a set, like they're not dragging the equipment in and out every single time, really? It's not like a set?
I think it's
Some
cool.
of them, they have a space lost out.
Yeah.
Other ones you go to and they have like a closet full of spin bikes. And then they roll them out for the classes. Like if you go to, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was I think they both like, they just, they take it
I tried to stay
out
away
of
from
the
steroids.
aerobics. So they really are using those spaces for like as.
What about
nice,
a game studio or teen studio?
different activities as you can.
Yeah.
So that
Granted, yes, if you had, say you had 3 of them, you could
So
probably dedicate one to like some class. So you
Yeah.
don't have to do that.
I
Yeah, but I've been
I
to
could
some
see
rec
having
centers.
maybe
I
like
mean,
2
I go to
of those
South
types
Dakota
of
with my
spaces,
in-laws.
and maybe
go to
one that
little
is more
towns
like
like
equipment
25
heavy,
So here's
and
the
one that's
thing.
just more open
It's
for like an aerobics class
And
or a
they
yoga
have
class or something
a
where
large
people are
gym,
coming without
large
as much
pool,
stuff,
And
you
in
know?
front of like
I
at the
don't know.
check-in area, they just have like little arcade games or ping pong tables. You know, stuff like that, just to like
I was just
downtown.
thinking too, just flexibility.
I don't know which one it is.
Unless you go to the expensive lakeshore. So I actually, I have,
Yeah.
I call well, then the membership fee was.
I mean, it's part of the lounge, the check-in process, and I think it's even noticeable.
So my
Yeah,
thing is,
agreed.
my
Off
point
to the
is,
side area.
I find the pool, the indoor pool, I think there's a lot of.
Yeah.
Yeah, more than
It's
25.
make a lot of sense.
Yeah, like they need more space.
Even though it's
Yeah.
expensive, I think if you're gonna have a center, I might as well.
Yeah.
So I just say,
And you know what, I think
I'm just gonna say
something
Yeah,
is a
okay.
major.
So a max gym, so that's basically what you think of like a basketball court, but it's a surface and it's a little bit different. So it's not like the traditional.
Alright, with lap lanes.
It looks like hardwood, but it's not the traditional basketball hardwood. It's
Well, it's a
more
monitoring
given for
issue.
like volleyball.
Oh, okay.
Staff it.
So
it
we've got a
can be
pool
used
here,
for
right?
multiple
You get
uses.
20 feet.
Basketball, volleyball.
You get that one?
Yeah, with lap lanes, right? The big one.
Pickleball, like
So-
yeah.
Yeah.
Pickleball.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm usually last. Thanks for making me look at
Hey, we're gonna start again.
Okay, you can do that. Hey, I called Daddy and said I'm gonna be
I
late.
didn't notice that.
All right.
All right.
I think.
We're doing the
yeah,
indoor
Trainer?
analysis,
I know.
and we're picking what's in the rec center. And Ron and I are picking actually what's out of the rec center.
Swimming around.
You know, the sports
Picking what's in the rec center.
I was probably saying no.
Yeah, go ahead.
That would
I
be
think I've
like-
marked it up enough. I think
Yeah,
we can take a crack at it now.
I feel like that seems
excessive.
yeah. Okay, so we say no to that. Okay.
Wet bathroom cleaners.
I got you. So
I would say
things with
that's
X.
essential.
So this is scratched out.
Because you want to
Just those are smart.
So and if there's a check,
still use that for other things like hard copies.
there's a check.
But it's basically just a
Gotcha. So that's not a check for a no. That's a
Yeah, a little, yeah, like a wall of, yeah.
We started before I did the yes no column, and I got very confused.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're definitely.
Yeah.
So library is not the
Yeah,
activity.
cool. Great.
I think, let's see here.
Say no. Do you have a black pen? I got an X on top of my blue pen.
So is that an X or is that a scratch out? Okay.
Is a hit or miss in
These first two.
There we go.
bigger ones kind of have
Yep, so I think those are required.
Then I got number 4.
Do you need both of
I
these?
would say that might be excess.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think, especially, I don't know.
Yeah, you could do both of those.
Colorado, and I
Yeah,
feel like
right.
It's nice
we
to
said
go
combine.
outside most of the time. And to me, with our community, I think having
Can these
a
things be doubled
childcare
with
or
those things?
babysitting area
senior
would
lounge?
be more important for the types of people that would be using it. Like if it's an either or, I don't know. I just,
So that's
Gets built in there.
It falls under like support.
okay,
If you
yeah,
a pool, fitness area.
yeah.
Moms and dads.
Yeah,
need
need to be
drop
able to
their
have-
kids off in
yeah.
order to use
Like
it.
Okay.
It's not like a
And then jumping back down here, racquetball courts.
Could this double as a pickleball, racquetball? So they double as a pickleball?
An access item.
It has to be outside?
It doesn't have to be outside. I mean, you can put it inside, but the sport size has to be. It's larger.
It's larger than racquetball?
I thought it was like half a ton.
The one thing I will say
That's
about
what I
it
see.
is I don't think
Digital
they're
library. I'm just trying to.
So for the
visualize.
talkers
Write a
that
comment,
we
can we
have
double
right
as
now.
pickle? Because that's one of the things that, is on the list. Can we double as pickle?
Whatever. We have a wait. There you go.
And then if you want, you can
Oh,
take it out.
okay. So maybe it's not
and make it
as,
an
You're
open.
right. There is a need for something to do this policy.
All right.
Is that,
yeah.
I like
yeah.
that list.
Oh, yeah, and then it's all kids.
Right, because it's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, I could go either way on that.
we'll mark it as like cafe, this is
So hold on.
been talked about
Children's
before. If
indoor
you're gonna have a facility like this, do you want to have a bar?
And it's huge.
What's the difference
between that
Isn't there gonna be like some sort of a cafe in the center though? I mean, isn't there something?
Excuse me,
like
teacher, I have a question.
would maybe Right. I mean.
Do you have descriptions of some of these?
Which one do you need a description of?
Like children's indoor playground, 24,000 square feet.
Absolutely, Nerf ball guns, Nerf wars.
What is it?
Nerf war.
Yeah, but you could do a Nerf war in a gym.
Think of the indoor at Alderton Rec Center.
That'd be awesome.
Apex Center also has
Or
one.
Yeah,
Erie
has
has
one.
one.
Big.
Okay.
Yeah, like indoor slides, the giant plastic animals the kids
You don't
build.
know.
Sometimes
Yeah.
climbing
Is that what you're talking about?
Kids' play area is about as big as this room.
And you know what? So, right.
I would say
the
not
gym,
that big.
And that, at
right,
the time,
the gym,
that was a,
got the track,
I mean,
That's
that's
right.
John's big pool somewhere.
No, that's the instant babysitter while the parents go work out.
Library and-
Well, and I mean, if you're talking like,
I'm kidding.
Yeah, think about it.
For adult, older kids, it's the babysitter. Let them go
it's
do that.
definitely
Yeah.
more of a,
Yeah, there's
yeah,
still
it's almost like a play area for the kids. That
It's
It's not just a recreation.
You gotta
It's
think
like,
about it.
It's a
hey,
play area for
laser
the kids while the
tag,
parents are doing something else.
putt, all that good stuff. You get it all that stuff. Just a matter of what is it?
That's expensive, by the way. That's
Vending
expensive.
machines and counters are quite popular, but
Yeah, no, I
yeah,
agree with that.
I have no
I
idea.
had to have like that.
Yeah, is it worth that? Yeah, and maybe like a little loungy nook where people can just hang out while they're waiting for
One of my
their
employees used to.
partner to finish up. Yeah, without having to have like a full-on staff,
When I sent her to California
you know,
for
thing
6 months,
that's
she had.
transactional that, I don't know. It's, yeah, I think it might be a bit.
And also you got
That's what happens when you do that. I did that
indoor
stuff for a while.
performance space. This is where we're kind of getting back into
Get back
the
into non-rec.
I like the team studio.
No, this is,
I don't.
every 3 weeks she comes back, she's just out there testing. We're gonna redrop the spaceship, and so she's out there testing it out, getting it ready.
All of those.
I did it 3 years ago.
I see as potentially.
I'm not doing anything that I have to do.
No,
Yeah.
it's more of a hangout.
Yeah, so the
And these other
question is,
things are
do we
and also
And
it's
this
still
is,
what
this is
you're
Edwards,
do
it's
the
Mojave, that's
weekends
called nothing.
in a rec center? You know, basically have two, like, do
No.
two installed.
Well, I'm picturing,
That's-
You know,
like foosball tables.
Or do we do it
Doom bar.
it's a non-argument, it's one of
Yeah.
those
Music.
in a rec
Something
center
fun.
over
That's
the
what I'm
more like
picturing.
community that potentially can be built outside.
It's not that much space, 700 square feet, so it's not huge. It's probably not that expensive compared to other things.
Why can't we just go for it all?
I think that's definitely
Probably with yeah, with liquids in there.
Like silver sneakers,
I was
yeah,
gonna
silver
say,
sneakers.
is it kind of the thing where,
I definitely,
since it's gonna be hard
So if we
for
have
us
to,
to
so
get
here's,
around,
if I'm thinking, okay, what are the things that I would really think are
And this is
awesome?
Yeah.
why
I
the
think there's
seniors
like,
talk about, well,
Absolutely,
I
I
think
totally
the
agree.
workout
Yeah.
area.
Fair,
yeah.
I wouldn't
Is
say
that
necessary.
Yeah.
Bare necessity.
Well, I think we need to,
But I mean, if
Yeah.
this is
I would say, you don't want to choose here, I think definitely need.
well, what's the senior population really look like?
All right.
How many people are we even talking about? I mean,
I
really?
think that's the last
We are
one.
getting
Where-
older.
Because
Yeah.
then we start
No,
breaking down
she's, no, she's right.
Yeah.
If you look at the demographics of
So, I think this is a
Superior,
good
particularly like
list.
Rock Creek
I think-
area.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously awesome to
It
have
is
everything
getting
here,
there.
but
Yeah.
I think about
And
the
so
core
that's
things,
why
really good
thing, if
center.
you listen to any of the
This is it.
councils when they're talking about like
You know,
developments and stuff.
I mean, other things are
board
kinda nice
is
to have.
very concerned about having
That's already there.
more kind of patio
I got coffee
homes
yesterday.
Yeah.
and one floor living homes because
It's accessibility.
the population that
Really?
is empty nesters, aging
I haven't
population
been there.
that lives in these giant
Which-
2-3
okay,
story
so-
homes in
Yeah.
Rock Creek.
If I'm looking at
On a town side,
Yeah.
there's
hill to the
nowhere
right.
for 'em in
Hill on
town.
top, behind the.
They're acknowledging that,
Oh, okay.
that, you know, they want to stay in town. Services like this
Yeah.
are beneficial to serve them.
Yeah.
I think you should have one.
Because
Okay.
right now,
Even without looking for a senior, I got here 2 years ago.
I mean, even no matter what
Yeah.
type of rent, we could do a
Yeah.
warming kitchen
Everybody
for pretty
minds
small.
That's pretty cool, man.
to say, and
Exactly.
some of them have sold their houses and then we have.
Yeah, I'm
them.
new, man. I'm
Yeah,
only
moving,
been
yeah.
5 years, so.
Yeah. But
Thursday,
otherwise,
Saturday.
yeah, yeah.
My great grandfather was a town
Yeah.
marshal.
Most of my neighbors
But think about it.
Yeah.
And it's not just
Yeah.
any type of food.
Well, I think that it's a matter of figuring out what's making sense with what the civic side is wanting to do and able to
Well,
accommodate.
a lot of these
Because
things, they
then
usually think,
maybe
if you're providing the
maybe
catering
it makes
yourself,
sense
maybe
for
someone else
us
providing
to
catering,
absorb that
they provide something to keep the stuff going.
cost, you know, and
They
to
don't
make
cook it on
those
site.
facilities there.
They provide you like a little steno type stuff.
We'll see
But
what
isn't a warming kitchen just
Yeah.
like
I'll
like
say, I can see the benefit of having just.
That's awesome, man.
I was thinking there was an actual room where
That's
you
awesome.
could warm up stuff and keep.
It's good to.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
The
right.
other ones in the forum space, the team studio, library.
Yeah.
Seriously, microwave and coffee pot,
It's
very
really
good morning.
I do think it could serve itself in the rec center space as well.
Maybe we'll grab a beer sometime.
But I think that there will almost definitely be in the town center space.
Yeah.
Like I said,
I
we'll
mean,
grab a
there's
beer
basically
sometime.
one
Away from these
that's designed.
microphones.
Yeah.
That's a little bit different.
Well, I think it's a beautiful town. That's right.
cafe.
You know, and I have an interest to keep it nice, and that's all I'm saying. So, I've lived a little bit everywhere. Florida, 5 years before that. Yeah, it's nice.
Typically,
Before that,
people go to the rec centers to socialize. There are a lot of them, especially the older folks, that go to socialize in the cafe.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
like to
That's
do
one of the
it.
reasons
If
why
you look at a lot of rec centers, they have some sort of cafe area in it, just because of the people who go there to socialize. And this is usually the retired folks.
But that's what I'm saying. Is like if I go to the gym, if I'm waiting for kids are playing,
Yep.
whatever, I'm like, give me a drink.
The district has
Give me something. Give me
a
a smoothie.
Yeah.
So, exactly, I mean, that's the thing is,
If you really want to do a big thing, like something like that.
15 minutes?
Yeah, because
I've never been to one, but I think it's really
yes.
much nicer than
I will say,
Yeah.
it's expensive.
they have
Yeah.
go and work out. And they do
Traffic
So it
section.
would be nice if there was.
Well, Lifetime Fitness is all about, hey, we're going to push our product. That's how they make their money, is they push all the product on you. I mean, it's, it is. I used to belong to Bally's and it was the same
Then
crap.
all of a sudden, that might be an option for folks in town to.
Right, it could feel redundant.
To you, granted, you probably come at a cost that would not necessarily.
That's
be
awesome.
associated with actual, use. I mean, you're gonna have a cost
Yeah.
of building.
Yeah.
The town would not have to pay for itself to use.
Right.
But, yes, the question is, how often is it gonna be used?
A kids team area. And
Yeah, the
then
trails. I mean,
Senior
yeah,
level.
everyone's everything on here. Everyone has an opinion on. I mean, the trails, the way I see them, they're useful because you have people walking, people running,
Yeah, but I'm
people.
like thinking, I was saying with the teen studio and game
So it's kind of like
those two together, and you have
an easy win, right? To get a lot of people out and
There's
about.
some value, but it's just.
But then the flip side is
The size of our town versus size of this.
you know, why not
Yeah.
just a dirt trail?
Can we just,
You see ladies
cemented, so.
all right.
I see a bunch of chairs.
They have simple, they have simple.
Yeah, pretty much.
There. They can play team. You don't see any.
We kind of go with all.
We're gonna have the party room, I don't know, what is it?
I'm just saying
Warming
that
kitchen is
Microwave or?
future longevity.
It's a sauna, actually.
Because, I mean, there is
Yeah,
different levels.
it's
of
steam your
warming
vegetables.
kitchen,
more of
The
like,
longer we
you know,
operate
it
out here,
happens.
the more it's going to be.
A refrigerator,
Our
probably not a full stove, probably just one. So this trail right here. And so like when you have like they're not
Transition over.
It's like they have to keep, so you need to keep like the hot dishes warm.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
And it also just gives them space to set up that's behind it. So
And this is like the biggest
it's like
thing.
imagine your kitchen
Basketball court
without
is
like
smaller than
some
the kids'
stove, like maybe just like.
Yeah, no, I
a magazine
understand. I mean,
and,
it's a valid concern. Is fencing an option?
It's like the kids' indoor playground is
But
3
so you have
times
to
the size of
set
the
up.
gym.
You know, like they have a little kitchen here, which
Well,
is just like
Yeah.
it's growth
it's
management.
like a small version. It's not like a full.
So very much it could be.
Yeah, I got you.
I would see it going.
There's a lot of, I mean, bottom line is, as, well,
There might
bottom line
be
is,
some
as communities grow,
question of whether the adult,
there's
senior
changes.
adult
That's the
lounge
bottom line.
needs some type of like kitchen area. I think like those folks are fine.
Yeah.
Well, but by the time I'm done,
Kitchen
Why is that?
as-
Did they fund it or
Absolutely
something?
tell you about a facility like this should come with.
but that's why I'm also saying like.
Well, I mean, I know that we're both relatively small towns.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that I don't know about.
Even say 1,000
To have.
you know, a
It's not,
room
it's not as easy.
like half the size of this, it's a little lounge.
You know, like, oh, I'm just gonna put a kitchen in my basement. It's like all done, like, no, they
Yeah.
About, so
They need to have.
we can have intelligent conversations about it, because those are the types of things I don't know about. And most residents. I didn't.
Okay.
I don't know about this one.
All right, how's everyone doing? Corey, how you doing?
We're doing awesome
man.
down here. We're negotiating what each one means.
Okay, you're coming up with definitions?
We got questions
Really
and
means
comments.
this.
Yeah.
We have it. We have a list.
We have
Right.
a list. We have a list.
Let's do it.
The bare necessities.
Okay.
Bare necessities. Bare. Get that right. Bare. That's right.
I guess
That's my
let's-
daughter's favorite
let's
movie anyways.
Figure out the best way to go through this. All right, I'm just gonna run down the list, and if you guys checked it, tell me. All right, so
Loudly.
I'm hoping everyone realized that the first two are givens. Required
Yes.
building
Yes.
support spaces, facility. All right.
It's like air.
Library full service or library digital branch. Did anyone have that?
Yes.
Digital.
Digital.
So one on the digital.
Digital.
You
I
got
don't
it.
know.
Gotta have somewhere for our kids to go.
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi.
Well, all right, we'll talk about
Yeah.
any differing ones at the end. All right, the 160 person community room events hall. Did anyone have that?
We had a question between the 160 and the 25 person classroom.
Okay, so what's the question?
Well, just
Thank you.
That is gonna be the answer.
Well, it depends on how much space per person.
yeah, it comes down to can you do like
Are these Americans or Europeans?
all right, keep going.
Square footage and like.
We said that
metric tons?
there's the right size between 160 and 25. It seems like a large separation, and you could do like a 75 room
Well, no.
and then break it down to like two
I would-
35 person rooms or something.
Yeah, I would actually look at it as the 160 would probably have a dividable walls, so you could probably break it into two or
Partition
three.
it off.
Partitioned off. Okay. So then we put a check for that one. Yeah.
For the big one?
Yeah. Sure. We put a check for
What
all
about
of them.
25 person? Anyone have that? No. All right, warming
Go-
kitchen.
Go big or go home.
We said the warming kitchen, you only need it if you have a huge room.
That's,
Depends on the size.
But that's where the
pretty
balance is.
accurate. So are you saying that you would have the warming kitchen because you picked the 160
I
person?
feel that we do, if you think about it, you need a place for your senior adult lounge, you definitely need a warming kitchen for cooking soup or little family functions, you know, stuff like that.
Question, what defines a warming kitchen?
Well,
Is it anything more than a microwave?
You gotta think about like space. Go ahead.
So Patrick,
Yeah, some of the
goes-
things, we had a discussion about how some of these things kind of come in groups.
Yeah,
Right?
totally.
You're not going to have a well,
Yeah, probably.
theoretically, a warming
Yeah.
kitchen would include also like some, either a 25% or a small area, senior lounge, something like that. So it's kind of like, we saw them in little groups of amenities, right?
So what I would say that is, this example of a warming kitchen is like 1,200 square feet. A senior lounge would probably have more of like a kitchenette, like a little kitchen. So,
we didn't
but
know
I
that.
agree with you. We kind of talked about that. Would the senior lounge need to have some type of kitchen? But, so Patrick, on
Kind of
this
like your
example
120 square foot break room
of the
compared to
warming kitchen for 1,200,
Somewhere for the day.
that's probably something that you would attach more to the large community room rather than to the senior lounge.
Yeah,
In
exactly.
the original card game, I think that it was attached
Okay.
on the side of the room.
That
Is
makes
something
sense.
with a couple of ovens in it, or I mean, what is it exactly? What do you?
It's like a prep kitchen,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, was it just a a prep table? But is there like actual amenities?
Well, yeah, there's gonna be like refrigerator,
Yeah.
microwave,
It was
warming drawers.
I think it was everything short of having to have like the gas hood for ventilation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was basically one step below restaurant requirements for like permitting processes. So
Might as well throw it in too, in the kitchen sink.
you could cater in like I think if I'm remembering back, we were thinking weddings, graduation party kind of stuff.
So again, yeah, I think that makes sense with the large community room. But on its own, if we're going to have a small kitchenette, for example, in the adult lounge, then there's no need, I think, for the larger kitchen. But that's just my opinion. I mean, unless people plan on cooking dinner, in this kitchen and then sitting in the community room instead of doing that at home.
Family reunions.
So why don't
Well,
we
but
discuss
again, you
them?
wouldn't really be cooking a full meal. It's more for catering,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
like usage.
Why don't we
If I
decide on
remember,
the
it was
rules first?
kind of avoiding any kind of gas lines to actually cook, but definitely microwave, definitely water source, definitely
Fridge.
refrigeration.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Well, like electric stove.
I
I don't think that they normally.
You gotta
Yeah, I
ask these
almost-
in-depth questions about this.
I'm thinking that we were saying probably not, but if it's electric, I mean, it's not all that different, than maybe the microwave. But
So no matter what, I mean, on ours, we were saying, there's the right size of a community room and the right size of kitchen if needed to support that size. And then that's where, there's other pieces in here that it's questionable on. Is it a community room or is it a lounge that breaks into a, how can the multi-use be? So those are, you start questioning what the definition of each term is a little bit more. So anyway, continuing on.
Yeah.
we wanna get-
Well,
Yeah.
we're gonna come back and talk about the community room.
Yeah.
So we will talk about the kitchen again. Right, senior adult lounge.
Right
We
here.
have that.
Okay.
We have
Need
that.
somewhere for you guys to go. When you
I
guys
said
get
yes
older.
on it.
Yeah, you said yes.
So, all right, so we actually have three on that one. All
Fine, I'll just take you to the home.
right. Teen studio. Anyone have teen studio?
Teen studio.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's more of a, yeah,
Teen studio, game studio combined.
yeah, we thought it
That's
would
works.
all work
Because you
together.
gotta put it all together.
So we were discussing like teen studio. We're thinking, okay, foosball, games
Air
like
hockey,
that. Maybe a
ping pong,
boombox,
yeah.
some music.
Flat screen lounge
You know.
place.
All right.
I want to
We're on
go
the
to
same page.
I want to go to the teen studio. That sounds good. Is there a bar at the? Wait, it's a teen studio.
That's the bottom of the list, we'll get to
There's a
that.
tap
So
at the
I,
end.
so
then
I
what
think
did
I've
they
That was
shown,
the
I think I've shown
senior
this to
lounge.
Patrick.
Yeah, senior.
When I was in high school, when I moved to a town that had an actual standalone teen center. And it had everything, like gymnasium, all the games you're talking about, band rooms, I had everything.
Oh, yeah.
And that, but I've never seen anything else like that.
The only two that I know of in this, Fort Collins used to, I think, has been repurposed, and then the Air Force Academy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I grew up in military bases my whole life, and every military base has a teen center like that, where the teens all go hang out, and they're allowed to wander around the base anyways. You're not worried about, bad things happen to them, so when they're in diapers, you just kick them out of the house.
Yeah. Keeps them off the mean streets of
Actually,
Rock Creek, right?
The one that you
Better
showed
than
me,
breaking your car windows at night, right?
Progressive. Vale used to have one.
This was in California, and this was, 20 years, over 20 years ago.
I think a lot of them have been repurposed for whatever the next trend is kind of thing was.
Pokemon?
Erie just turned theirs into a spin studio.
Pokemon Center.
Gotta go
All
find
right,
it.
Okay.
child watch babysitting. Anyone have that? We did.
Oh, wow, okay.
Because we thought that was necessary for
We did.
If people are working
all
out.
the
Yeah.
workout.
You gotta drop the kids somewhere.
Yeah.
Got something.
You're done.
So we had two on that one. All right.
So just out of curiosity, when we're, saying that we think we want these amenities, but there's other things that have to happen in that amenity, like a babysitter, like people to man it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Is that
there's like-
implied?
It's
Is that an
implied.
implied cost
Cost?
in there?
Yeah.
So
Yes,
when you
that
They're
one-
volunteers.
So when you drop your child off to a babysitter here at this nice rec center, is that going to be paid? I mean, you're going to have to pay for a babysitter? Is that going to be employed town staff is gonna have to pay somebody to watch kids? Or how is that gonna handle that? So let's
So
get in depth with
generally,
this.
when the private facilities, or even the public ones, usually work in one of two ways. If you have like a family membership to the rec center, it
Covers
might
the
be
cost.
included.
Yeah.
Some other facilities like Lakeshore make you pay a little bit above and beyond. So you have, either a punch card or you pay an
Yeah.
extra $20 a month
Yeah.
on top of your family membership. So there,
Like when Lakeshore first opened, you were allowed 2 hours free. You could leave your kids for 2 hours every day.
Really?
Yeah, for free. That was.
That's
the-
a
what would you
good
think?
deal.
That was a great deal.
I don't have children, but I feel like I'd farm them
So,
out for 2 hours a day. I mean, just thinking
so
of-
but you're right. I mean, there is a cost
Is
that
there a cost that the
Yeah.
town staff is gonna hire somebody?
they're gonna have to they're gonna have to
They have to staff the rec center
staff it,
itself.
manage it.
Yeah, I would
Same
argue
as
for
a
this,
lifeguard
I would argue for
or-
this exercise that we're doing, that just understand that some of these things come with additional considerations that
Right.
the town would have to adjudicate somehow, but that's not really what I'm considering right now. I'm just considering, okay, because they still have to, somebody has to staff the rec center, somebody has to clean the rec center, somebody has to do all these other things too, that I'm just assuming as well.
We're trying to
There's all
figure
that
out,
cost.
And how they
like,
pay for it is later on.
right, we're trying to figure out generally what we think is a good idea.
Yes.
So for example, I think we both think that the baby suit is a good idea, but what we tried to do was limit it to 10 things that we think.
Oh, you just
So
said.
we limited ourselves to the 10 things that we think would be awesome.
The 10
I
essentials.
mean, obviously the entire list would be awesome.
So,
But-
so what I'll say is, a lot of this, yes, there's gonna be implications with a lot of these. And so, when Patrick takes it back and works on both the maintenance, annual
The O&M.
staffing,
Op-
maintenance
op-
costs, as well
operations
as the
and
capital costs,
Yeah.
he's gonna have to factor those
I mean-
implications.
And then we'll get the reality.
You could combine the baby, teen,
Yeah, right.
and senior, right, into a larger thing.
I
but-
know.
Actually, let's just drop
I know you're
our
joking,
grandparents off,
but I
drop
have
his kids off.
actually-
You just
I have-
kind of filter
That's
through
a
the
great
right.
have
idea. You just
regularly
naturally, as you get
discussed
older, you
in
go
the
from one side of
past
the room and the rest of the
Absolutely.
other.
combining the
Absolutely. We got
senior and
changing tables for our old and our young.
Listen,
Okay.
let's let the
We got
seniors
more
do
things to
babysitting.
get through. Come on.
Children's indoor playground,
Let the seniors do the babysitting.
Children's indoor playground. Anyone?
which is the size of a pool area.
Yeah, that was huge.
It just seems
Okay.
extremely large.
So no.
I mean, never
Did,
drop my kids
I mean,
off
did
at
anyone
your
pick
house.
it?
Not knowing what it is, it just seemed extremely large for the
Yeah.
facility.
And if you make
Okay.
a small one, it's not worth it.
Wet classroom party rooms. Anyone have those? We did.
What is a
Anyone
wet
else?
classroom?
So think of a box with a sink.
Yeah. Community room, the community room at the sports table is wet. It has water in the counter
Yeah.
space.
So you can have like a birthday
Oh,
party
okay.
or
Yeah,
something
like
in
where the
it.
kids can
Okay,
clean
so
up.
it has a
can,
hand
like,
sink.
wash
Rent it
their
out. Yeah, it
It
has
has a hand
hand
sink,
sink.
that's all we need. Okay.
Yeah, it's-
So I can wash off my forks after I.
But
cut
you
up the
could
pot.
have like art classes.
Same
with
thing,
art
yeah.
in it.
There are pottery classes.
Yeah.
Is there anything different in the rooms for like art classes that, like the floor is not carpeted, right?
Yeah,
So if
yeah.
they're doing
It's
art classes,
gonna
then
be
you can wipe it
tile.
up.
You wouldn't
type
carpet
thing.
it wet.
Okay.
You wouldn't,
Yeah.
yeah.
So there is something different than a normal room.
Yeah, you can
Right.
hose it down.
You can hose
If
down the
it's wet.
kids when they go.
So, anyone else have that though? We did, but did anyone
Guess
else?
not.
No.
Now,
Therapy,
the parties-
massage,
the parties
training
might be a
rooms.
source of income.
What
That's a
was
good
that?
point.
Therapy, massage, training rooms.
We discussed, what did you think?
No, because I personally think a lot of these rooms that they could double up with something else, and if you wanted to have a therapy massage room, some of these rooms you could, you could schedule as during this time to take a massage.
Mhm.
We thought it
A
was a
multi-purpose
We
type
thought it
room.
was a little over the top
Yeah.
Yeah.
for this.
Again, you have to bring
the-
somebody in to run it. And you couldn't do that with staff. You'd have to bring, like Lakeshore's got a PT.
Yeah, they would have to work with
company.
contractors.
Yeah.
And if there was a need and they could make money like Lakeshore does now, they do now.
Do
When I
they
first
do
started-
that now?
Yeah, they have a full.
Because they used to have a spa, like a staff spa, right?
But then it's something fancy.
There's still a spa over there.
So no.
Okay.
Check.
The Mac gym. Anyone else
Oh,
have
yeah.
the Mac?
We
gym?
do.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody wants the gym.
Okay.
Great.
It's a MAC
Did
gym.
you guys have it?
Yes.
Middle school.
They're not very good at raising
So,
their hands.
explain the MAC gym,
Yeah,
it's the
you're not.
flooring type is different.
Yeah,
So it's better for like
Yeah,
volleyball
the
and,
it's a multi-use court, so you wouldn't go floating hardwood like you see at a high school gymnasium.
No parquet?
Yeah. No Boston Garden?
No Boston Garden? Why not?
But you would do, you would probably do some kind of rubber core flooring. You know, a step above, if you picture kind of the old junior high school gyms, a modern version of that. So, but you'd stripe it for volleyball, stripe it for pickleball, you'd stripe it for basketball.
See, there's our pickleball.
weight fitness room. So this is your workout area.
Yep.
The 25-person aerobic dance room. Anyone have that?
Oh, I don't know.
Anyone want an aerobic dance room, period? Aerobic?
So we went
Group
with a
classes?
larger, the 32 to 40-person aerobic dance room with a dividable
See, that's
wall.
the question
So
between
it could
that
be
and that.
could be broken up depending on class size.
Well, and that also comes back to our kind of discussion about the 160-person community rooms, and if, you know, some of those can be utilized. But the dance rooms are more wood floor, all glass, or I mean mirrors and
Mirrors.
stuff like that, right?
They're like
Windows.
class
I
group
mean,
fitness.
but
It's a
yes,
group
I mean
fitness
they're going to
room.
be used for anything from yoga, Pilates to spin to dance.
Silver sneakers.
I mean,
Usually.
Pretty
much any.
I put a yes in one
any
of them.
like light
I'm
rack.
not sure how big, but I
Yeah.
put a yes in one.
Okay.
This is just the beginning.
So did you guys have it or no?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Because you need like line up the bikes, and there you go. Yoga,
Jog, walk, track.
Pilates. Yes.
Great.
Yes, yes. All right. So we all have that. Large climbing wall. Or climbing wall, period.
Climbing wall. We put climbing wall. It'd be cool.
Did you guys have climbing wall?
It's pretty small.
No, we didn't.
But again, things with
Um,
animals is
all right.
boring.
So, did everyone have a pool?
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay, so everyone should have aquatic support. So then the question is, which pool did you select? We went with the competitive / leisure pool, the big
25,000 square feet?
25
Yeah,
yard.
so did we.
So did we.
25 yard?
20.
Yeah,
Did we ever
25
get
yard.
25 yard or 25 meter?
They just want a pool. They don't care.
For about 25 meters.
So but you did both the competitive and leisure pool? All right,
Great.
so we're all on a.
Because
Bigger's
being,
better.
so pools in
You might
general,
as well build a decent sized one.
it's nice to have space to swim, right? I mean, crowded pools are more like wading ponds, not really pools.
Yeah.
So our perspective was, hey, if we're gonna do a pool and make that investment, let's make it awesome.
Exactly.
My experience is I stopped going to Louisville because in a 3-week period, I had 3 to 4 head-on collisions.
There you go.
Because people didn't know how to lane swim with somebody,
Wow.
and they got it wrong. And next thing you know-
Really?
There's not much you can do about the human element.
Well, but the
Wear
more,
like
the
a
bigger the
helmet?
pool, the less you have people trying to share
Can you
lanes.
imagine?
Right, okay,
Years ago.
cool.
That's my point.
Yeah, that makes sense, yep. And yeah, exactly.
See, I swim at our town pools, and I have more children collisions. The kids crossing my lane when I'm swimming laps.
Nice.
So.
Okay.
All right, performance space. Anyone have that?
We didn't, but what is that?
Performance space.
So think of, an indoor, whether it were an actual theater or just more of like
Stage, yeah.
a stage.
Oh,
like
I
there
interpreted
was a
performance like
room with
athletic
a-
performance.
Oh, no.
No.
Like running fast.
No,
Yeah.
this would be
Like
something
theater,
that you could
music,
have like, you
recital.
know,
There's no square
yeah,
footage to
theater.
really tell me how
Artistic
big.
space.
Artistic performance.
Like a
space.
theater space.
You're going to pack you two in there.
Okay, so no one, okay.
No.
I mean, it could be anywhere from like the El Dorado K8 like cafetorium to, which is just, you know, an open,
Common things.
yeah, it's the cafeteria /
Sounds
theater.
awful.
I hang out there
Cafeteria.
quite a bit.
But just the word cafetorium sounds really bad.
It's
so-
the auditorium and
Okay.
cafeteria.
All right,
Go
yeah.
watch
But a good idea
play
for the
there or
people who vote
something.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I'm all set.
comfortable, those plastic chairs.
I'm all set.
When you hear the orchestra there,
Yeah.
just telling you.
Just
All right,
full disclosure,
so-
I am a professional musician, so yeah, nope, not gonna go do that. Okay.
Cafe, anyone has a cafe?
Well, isn't that already there? I
Well,
got
that was the
coffee.
warming kitchen, but we weren't sure. how it all
Well, there's a
went together.
cafe at
You're
the.
talking about at
Really?
the
No, that was-
sports
yeah,
stable.
but-
Oh, yeah.
And this would be this would be
Depending on how
separate
you tie
from
them
the
together.
sports stable. But yes, I mean, that's the general idea.
We did have it, yeah.
Would you have
One
that
makes
have
like
it, yeah.
smoothies
inside?
and one has.
We were kind of under the opinion that if you're gonna have the warming kitchen, you don't need the cafe, but a cafe would be nice if you, especially if you're gonna have a
Nachos.
big gym with,
Or maybe again, like combine those two spaces, have a cafe / warming kitchen. You know, a lot of these spaces can be Starbucks. You know,
This is
you could have a
more-
classroom.
This is
/
more of like
yoga
a
room.
retail operation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like a
Yeah.
Starbucks
Cafe, whatever.
or like a Jamba Juice type thing,
I
like
think it would go
in
for
the
it. Absolutely.
lobby of
Everything that we put in
Cafe.
this, we gotta get money back out of it.
Yeah, well, we checked
But
cafe.
the
yeah.
cafe, the lounge, you know, and waiting for kids to play or do whatever
that makes
is
sense.
the kind of.
So
you
you're
just brought up a
saying
lot of
yes.
questions.
Okay.
A couple questions we were gonna ask Patrick.
And then,
Why those short-term
anyone have
rentals?
racquetball?
If Patrick would listen.
We did put racquetball. Anybody else?
Yeah.
No.
We were,
All right.
we were a little
Yeah, we were.
on the racquetball.
The consensus, I guess, is that they are pretty popular at other, you know, like
Rec
Louisville, Lafayette.
Most racquetball
They-
gyms that racquetball areas I've been to have always been scheduled.
had to look
Very
that up. I
rarely
didn't
see
know what it
them
was.
without a waiting list on a racquetball. The question I had is, you know, we have this pickleball thing as well. Is there any way to double those two? Was the size right for, I don't know, to do a pet
I mean,
racquetball?
racquetball is a pretty dedicated space.
Yeah,
I
but
think it's
is it
probably
about the
too
same
small.
size as football?
I think it's too small. Patrick, are you familiar with whether pickleball would be
Right.
bigger or large, seriously smaller or larger than
Pickleball.
racquetball?
I like public
Okay.
parks.
Didn't we talk about this, like, not too long ago?
Okay.
I had to
So,
look it up. I didn't know what it was.
so where we are in agreement across the board is senior adult lounge, Mac gym, fitness room, jog walk track, and then the pool.
Yeah,
See that? Yeah, I think that's an awesome,
that's pretty kick-ass.
you
There you
know,
go.
core community
Got
center.
everything we need.
So we
So,
want the basketball court, not the Mac gym.
Are we gonna have a high dive?
all right, so let's talk about
Did you
these
say weight room?
nine.
Did you say weight room?
Yes, weight
Okay.
fitness room was
Okay.
in Florida.
Yeah.
Let's talk about these non-rec spaces first. So the library, the community room, the large community room, the warming kitchen. So we looked at it as those are probably amenities that would be best put in the town center civic space and not in the rec center. We definitely thought with the library, we were a little bit back and forth on the community room, whether you could have that in one or both facilities. But ultimately, we thought, well, to kind of, you know, keep this a more manageable space, keep that separate in the town center. So what does everyone else think about that? I mean, do you think these spaces need to be in a rec center? Do you think that they would be better served in a separate facility, which would most likely be the town center civic space? You're the ones who voted for it.
So my opinion is a rec center. This truly speaks to a rec center because everything you're doing, you know, you've got pools, gyms. It's all recreational things. Now, I think it would be really cool to have like a rec center on the main floor, which, you know, has the gym and the pool, et cetera. And then maybe on a top floor, you've got the lounge. You've got, you know, a small kitchen and maybe a cafe.
Well,
or something.
the
But
senior
lounge
lounge we
is-
all voted for.
Yes, we did.
Absolutely.
It's the community room, the library,
Library.
the warming
Oh, okay,
kitchen.
okay.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
So we're
here.
talking large, like gatherings, like a wedding party or a birthday party
Yeah.
or
Well,
something
I-
like that. That's like 50 people to 100 people.
Pickleball
150.
party.
Pickleball.
So
Someone's
I
retired
would
party.
wonder like how much
Retirement
usage it
party.
would get, because I think it would be, if it's something that would be heavily used, then awesome. But if it's something that's going to sit empty, you know, 6 days out of the week,
You
on
can-
average.
I think we should definitely have it, because you think about it, you have rugby team parties after year in season gatherings for soccer, hockey, rugby. I mean, pool parties for kids, graduation ceremonies, wedding anniversaries, everything. It's there. Let's use it. Let's just.
But the question is, do you put it in a
think-
rec center?
Yes,
Yeah.
of course you do.
Or do you put it in the town center
Like
civic
civic
space?
area.
Do you
Put it in
keep-
the rec
do you-
center. Keep it all.
That's the
warm.
question. It's not do we have it or not have it. It's do we have it in this facility or the other facility that's going to be more non-recreation amenities. That's really the question.
I think also when you're looking at like, okay, this building and this space, does it make sense if you're having a 50th anniversary party, right? Does it make sense to have a party like that with people walking by who are like in gym clothes? Like, does that make, like, it feels like a little
Dripping
just,
by.
yeah, people that are like sweating as they, I mean, it just, that seems like a little just, it doesn't fit to me. But I think that having these spaces is really important. I'm just not sure we're supposed to have them
All in the
where
same-
all this is. Yeah, like to me, like a library and a community room, in that sense, should go more where, I don't know, people are.
I think the
sweaty.
community room should be on the north side of the building, away from the workout studio, swimming pool area.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think about, are you going to put your community room right on top of, right next to the swimming pool where everybody can watch their kids swim?
With windows to
Think
it.
about it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, like, so is there a lounge that makes sense that people can walk in and like you go do this, or you go up to this room that we just paid a lot of money to rent? And like, you know, so that's all. I'm just thinking about like the presentation. of
Yeah,
that.
that's a good point. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like with the adult lounge, is it going to be right next to the swimming pool? It would be weird, right? I think.
Right.
So that's more of a
next to the
quiet
admin.
space.
Yeah, it's like a proximity issue.
Yeah.
If you ever are in North Boulder, go look at the North Boulder Rec Center.
Okay.
They actually have a space, it's gorgeous, where they do weddings and receptions. We did, when I was still on PROSTAC, we did a tour of
Yeah.
various rec centers, and they do, I mean, they've got a pool and all those kinds of things, but they also have the senior meeting space, the teen amenities, and then they've got a really gorgeous place that you can rent out for weddings and stuff. So,
Okay.
you know, it's hard to put your head around until you see it.
But it
And I would have
works
been,
there.
I would have thought the same way you
Yeah.
did until I saw how it worked.
Okay.
So it, you know, just
Yeah.
basically
don't throw it
we're
out
saying-
until you look at
Yeah.
it.
We want the space, we just don't know if it's in this building.
Yeah.
Or if it's in another building.
Yeah.
I mean, we want the space.
Yeah,
Right.
totally.
From my perspective, I can see it from both ways. I mean, for a matter of convenience, and also if you're trying to promote the use, you know, people always say they want libraries, but then libraries tend to get underused, even though people say they want it, because they want to have the availability to it. But if you're going to have it, you know, you really want to promote the use of it, then you put it where the people are going to be, so they walk by it and they're like, oh, maybe I will stop in today, versus having to
Check
go
out
to
both.
a unique place that they wouldn't
Yeah, like a
normally go to,
freestanding, yeah.
right? But at the same time, I can understand that if you're going to rent it out and have a wedding reception, you don't want some sweaty guy in a tank top coming by going, can I get a piece of that cake?
I mean, you can separate the space. I mean,
Yeah.
you can have wings on the building type thing. But
Right.
I definitely think library, separate space. The community room, I think we can go back and forth on. So maybe we kind of leave that as like a possible. And get the pricing on it and everything, and we'll see how it really does, how much does the community room and the warming kitchen change the overall, cost of the facility. But, I mean, does anyone really strongly feel like the library belongs in this facility?
The only thing I could see is if there was a digital library that was small and a room like not even bigger than this, that you could check out digital components, because I feel that the real full-service library,
Well,
if you really have
right,
like
but
stacks full of books,
But that's what I feel
that's
like
not in this facility.
is if there's one amenity that goes in town center,
That's it.
I think it's been earmarked as library. Am I wrong in that
No,
in
was
that
the exercise-
assumption?
That was the exercise the board passed and staff did last year.
Yeah.
Was the-
So I think it's safe to say
And-
that that's,
The full service and digital go together.
yeah. Well, they weren't talking about a full service, they were talking more of the digital branch.
I read the two.
Well, no, full service is on the list. I'm just talking about what has been discussed
Oh,
for
okay,
town center
okay.
is not a full service. it's not, it's a little bit more than a digital too.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
was kind of one of the
it's
more
like a
modern
hybrid.
Or the, you know, the placemaking, or the, you know, the maker spaces.
Yeah.
Like you have up in Boulder, where it is truly that flex space.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
3D printers and, you know, cafes and that kind of stuff. What we'd shown last year.
And then I guess the question is, if you are gonna, if you have the senior adult lounge in the rec center, but not the library, what about the teen studio, game studio? Which facility does that really find its place in? Is it
Rec
better
center.
paired with the senior center, or is it better paired with like the digital library makerspace?
It's a good question, because just remember that kind of the feedback from the board last year is to not have that senior space and that teen space anywhere close to each other.
I would say, just
Really?
from my experience, I would try to keep those things separated as much as possible, because you're just inviting problems or people being annoyed, you know, just for, you know, for whatever reason. just because of that.
elderly people too.
What is really
Involved in
like,
today's
I
youth.
don't know what
You
they
gotta
were kind
get
of
today's
talking
youth
about.
to respect.
So teen studio would be more, I think if you had kind of like a living room for kids to gather in, and it's gonna
Lounge.
have, like, it's like a lounge space, they can
With
have
ping
like,
pong in the
you know,
corner.
some
Yeah.
video
Foosball.
game, like a TV with video games,
Loud,
maybe like,
noisy.
you know, pool, ping pong.
Yeah.
Just a place for kids to go hang out.
Maybe put in a pinball machine that lights
the
up and
game
makes a bunch of
studio
noise,
is-
you know.
Game studio, we're kind of saying is gonna fall in
I
with the
think
teen
that's kind of in
studio.
a teen.
It's game studio is like, yeah, like ping pong.
It's a lounge where you can go and the kids can hang out and play games.
Here they're separate.
No, they
I,
really want to use
control.
it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Really?
probably.
Do they?
Yeah, it's.
I don't know, I asked my kids, and they said.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Hey, I got a
Is
question.
every teen gonna use it? Maybe not, but.
You're gonna have a bunch of like 12 and 13-year-old boys and girls like picking on a bunch of 8 and 7, 8-year-olds in the gaming room over an Xbox control.
Well,
Are you gonna allow that for your kid? You
no,
gonna allow, are you gonna allow your son or daughter to
generally,
get picked on by
it
somebody
would
else?
be, it would have an age restriction on it. So if you're saying it's teen studio, it really would be
Teen
like
studio
13
needs to
to
have
18, like.
their teen side. Game studio needs to be for your babysitting, your daycare as well. Think about it. Involve it all as one.
I mean, you can think about how it's managed, whether you
Yeah.
have certain hours that are maybe meant for
Yeah.
younger kids.
I would almost,
I'm not saying you need, I'm not thinking you
design
need a
and management
dedicated
is
space.
not part of this right
Yeah,
now.
right.
Yeah.
Because that, we're gonna go down that rabbit hole.
And we're
Because
gonna need
the-
more time than
you know,
what we have
yeah,
tonight.
we'll need
No,
more
but
than-
this
I think
particular
Erie,
one,
Erie actually does have
Yeah, last time I came, right?
like
Thought we
2
were done.
separate rooms for different ages.
And yeah,
And
I'm
like-
just saying, they've dropped all their.
Nice.
These are-
Well, exactly.
This is special lot of
So
programs there.
it's, we don't really need to get in that detail now, but I mean, your concern is heard. That, yes, you're gonna have to think about some of how the space is managed or programmed.
Yeah.
I would determine if the space is critical, and my personal recommendation would be is get it as tight as possible. That way it can't get picked apart. So
Yeah.
you
The-
want library up here, say library up here.
Well, exactly,
What we've
so-
seen in the past is any type of wiggle room, when the board
It
sees it,
gets-
they're just, they'll pull it apart.
But what we're saying is if we want the teen space separate from the senior space, then we're talking about the teen space being probably in town center and the senior space being in this rec center facility. I think that's what I'm hearing. If we want to keep them separate, that's where the separation lies.
I think when we had showed it as part of the library, we had showed them side by side, thinking that intergenerationally, that was kind of the programming trend, is that they would.
I thought the library and the teen space were there, but there wasn't was there a senior space
Yeah,
in the?
we lumped it together.
Was there?
Yeah.
Well,
I
my
don't
really
point
find it.
with the senior space being in the rec center is that sometimes there are classes, like fitness classes for older people, and like Peter was saying, it's harder for them to
Yeah.
move from one
Yeah,
place to another.
if
so it would make
if you have to
sense.
get them to one facility, make it a multi-use for them.
Experience.
So if you're gonna have
Yeah.
like Silver Sneakers program in the rec center, we'll have the senior center tied to it so they can do their their recreation and their social activities in the same facility. They don't have to go to town center and then, get bussed over
Yeah.
to the rec center separately. They just have to go to one place and they can hang out there for half the day or whatever. Okay. The child watch babysitting, I see that as a necessity with any facility that's gonna have like a pool or
Yeah,
fitness.
no, that's gotta be.
I don't see how you get away from it.
Okay.
If you're gonna have it, it makes most sense to have it at the rec center, because
Yeah.
people at the library aren't gonna be really looking for that.
No.
No. Like, I need someone to watch my children while I
While I read.
study.
The wet classroom party room, we're the only ones that did that, but I think that's essential for like birthday parties, at the very least, if not to have some classes in it that would require that wet aspect. But, if you want to have like a pool party, you need to have a room to go back to have like your cake and stuff.
Well, so what about combining, like a combined warming kitchen / wet?
Well, I don't think you need the
Well,
whole
but-
warming kitchen just for that. I think all you need is the wet.
But if we
The
say the
party
community
room really
space
has a
comes back
microwave.
here, then
Yeah.
you don't have the warming kitchen.
Yes,
that kind of ties
so the
together.
warming kitchen
Okay.
is tied to the
You're right,
community room,
yeah.
which right now I've tentatively put a question mark next to.
Okay,
The party room may have a microwave, but not like a kitchen.
okay.
No, the wet room makes a lot of sense to tie it to like the pool, but also if you're gonna open it up for birthday parties, you want something like that because inevitably kids are gonna be
Yeah,
spilling drinks or whatever all over the place, and you want to be changing out your carpet all the time. So it makes sense that that would be a type of facility for that as well.
Yep, totally understood. I was thinking, okay, ice cream for birthdays, but what about pizza?
Right.
That's all I was thinking.
Right.
And I think the question there is, do you have one or
What
two?
about pizza?
And do you
Or
tie them to
anything
the
more.
pool area? Do you have a direct connection to the pool area? Like some of the rec centers do, or do you have it somewhere else in the facility? A detail that can be sorted out later, but it's a
Yeah.
detail that you
But it's just
think
that if they're in
about.
the same building, it gives you that opportunity.
Kitchen.
Yeah.
All right, so we all had Mac gym, we all had fitness area, fitness room.
For the teen space all the time.
Jog, walk, track, I think we all have.
Yeah.
Standing room.
Well, actually, it's just
Jog,
one
yeah,
level.
jog, walk, track.
Very large
It was
pool.
right above.
The-
library.
The aerobic dance rooms, I mean, 2 of the 3 had that. I think, again, if you're gonna have a rec center with a fitness area and everything, you have to be able to have classes.
I'd rather have.
So you have to have a
classrooms than
fitness studio.
Yeah, some kind of studio that you can use as yoga, aerobic,
Yeah.
spin class. All those rooms are all multi-use for all those types of things.
I agree. It was, I mean, a lot of these things, like I said, it would be nice to have them all, so we tried to pick what we think are core. I mean, what do you think about the studio room? It's nice to have yoga classes and
Absolutely.
stuff. I mean,
I think the classrooms would be great for breakout programming within the rec center over the community room.
Yeah.
And you could break those down into a larger room or a smaller room
mhm.
and still have like a yoga class
And
and a
who
bike
knows, if
class
they-
and
if-
Oh, yeah,
a,
that's true.
whatever, you have.
If you had a
2
real
different- 3
need
different
for a
classes.
community room, a medium-sized community room, you could probably put chairs inside of.
Well, exactly, and
inside
there's
the-
still, you
the
can still
room.
have a room.
So the last thing to discuss with them would be the cafe. We just thought, our group thought that there's a lot, more to manage with additional staff. You're basically running a little retail shop inside the rec center that all of a sudden you have to worry about your profit loss a little bit more. Would this facility be large enough to support that?
Depends on the size of the rec center.
Well, this facility we're talking about with a 25-yard competitive leisure pool, climbing wall, jog walk track, aerobic dance room, Mac gym, child watch senior center, is that a big enough facility to support a cafe in the lobby. That's,
So from my perspective, I've been to a ton of gyms, and the cafe gets used more as a social area. People just want to go and kind of hang out, or if your kids are in there doing something, it gives the parents a place to wait and hang out. It's a needed, an area like that's a needed space for people to just kind of hang out and not actually go in and use facilities,
Right, it's
but
like
be
an
able to do
intermediary.
something. And as far as the cafe itself goes, the nice thing about that is you could just rent it out to a vendor and they're responsible for the whole thing. You don't have to man it yourself and take on that responsibility. There's a lot of folks who'd be willing to rent that space out from you to provide something simple, right?
Coffee.
So that makes a lot of sense. I think it would be maybe easier to select what we all agree we don't want, or doesn't make sense, because I think we're basically saying yes to almost everything.
well, no, I mean, that's it. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I have a list here.
Okay, cool.
So the list I have is this. You have your required building support spaces, facility administration space, senior adult lounge, child watch babysitting, wet classroom, Mac gym, weight fitness room, a large dividable aerobic dance room, jog walk track, climbing wall, and your aquatics support with the 25-yard competitive and leisure pool, and a cafe, and then a question mark against the community room and warming kitchen. So what I would say is we'll have staff look at pricing out this facility, and then, as an aside, what the additional community room and warming kitchen would cost. So both, the capital cost to build and the annual cost to operate. Would you be able to estimate that?
Well, not the operation.
You wouldn't be able to estimate
No,
that?
not unless we want to spend some serious money.
Okay,
Like,
but you can at least get the capital cost on it, okay.
Can you price in a more of a traditional court rather than the Mac court? Just to give us something to compare. Is it because
As an adult.
when you start talking about cafes and all that kind of stuff, if you just put a middle school type gym in there, you're not going to attract a lot of clubs to come in there and play basketball, which would be,
What
you're
would
going to want to
support
bring
that cafe?
you're going to want to bring people in there to get people to go to the cafe, etc. So I mean, I'm not saying we should have a cafe. I'm just, if we're going to go down that road, you might want to at least check to see what it's going to be like to have 6 hoops. Like that's what we put on our list here. We added a 6-hoop list to the list on top of the Mac gym.
You have like a full-size court with just space around it that you can drop down
I mean-
sides and
Because if you're
subdivide
going to
it.
have the running track or the jogging track, generally you would anticipate it to be around the top.
Around the top.
Yeah. So that's my only one
Kinda
thing I
like
saw as
that.
far as and I would completely agree with your comments about the community room. If we have another spot for it, then we need to maybe look at that as well. I mean, this is the consideration that we've talked about a community room for, I've been on 5 years. And we still don't have a community room. We don't have anywhere to have our HOA meetings or anything like that, which would be really nice to, But again, I would not put a priority on the community room in my rec center. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But I would put a priority on pretty much everything that we
Yeah.
hit on right there. That's the way we approached it. We're on my rec center. So.
That's why, I think it's a good idea to break it out. Rec center, how much does that cost? And then community room plus warming kitchen.
Yeah. All right.
I love that we've said warming kitchen this much in this meeting. I'm really enjoying that.
You like warming kitchen?
I just think it's very strange.
Do you want to do that now? Or I can do it with you later?
Yeah, we have
Okay.
35 minutes and we only got through number 1.
Um,
You missed a good one.
So-
You're here till 10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, you're all cute. I would
we're-
leave you.
We've actually done the bulk of it.
The bulk of the work.
Because the amenities list, we just need to review
Yeah.
and basically say we're in agreement on. It's essentially done. The 5-year trails plan. So, Patrick, do you have, we're not going to actually spend that much time on this either, because this is something that we did a similar voting thing on,
Mhm.
starting last year.
Okay.
And I didn't want to ask
Another
everyone to
vote,
vote
yeah.
on 2 things at once. But I just want to pull it up if you have it, Patrick, the 5-year trails plan. And then what I'll do is, we'll just take a look at it so everyone's seen it, and then I will send that out before the April meeting for us to actually do our vote on.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, look at that.
You should know that.
Professional.
Ron passed that torch on.
He did.
Well, I came in last.
He did.
It's whoever comes in last.
I was
But-
wondering
He
why
drew
it
the
was so
short
bright.
straw.
But I got my little,
It's good.
You got your-
part of my pin.
Your personal pen?
Yeah.
Or is that, was it in the
No,
box?
no, I got this from the Space Symposium last year. I stole it fair and square.
I always forget, because everyone does have a pointer in their box.
Not over here. It might- yeah. It's over there. I'm a little bummed.
No kid, no. Tell me about
Are
it.
you serious? Not every trustee has a pointer, okay?
Maybe one got taken
Not
away.
this
with
pointer.
this.
I don't know anything about it.
I thought everyone had
I
a.
think that they kind of float around.
Oh, do they? Yeah.
Oh, it's special.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, this one's Chris Hansen's.
Ooh, wow.
It's got his name on it.
Pretty similar.
I bet it.
Pretty similar in process.
Oh, we'll do the same kind of thing.
Okay, yeah, so
Right.
it almost looks exactly the same. So it,
This is
actually, yeah, I guess we adopted the exact same rate. So we're gonna do the exact same rating process on the trails as we did. I guess I tried to make it simple when we adopted this last year. So it's the
Would that
exact
be a
same
map or
process.
something?
The difference is you have to show them which
Well,
trails are
well,
which.
all right, yeah,
Is there some
so
supporting stuff? Cool.
there's a map. And we'll have to,
Do we have to update it to get rid of the ones that are already
Yeah,
in
we'll have
process?
update it,
Well,
I
last year
guess.
we decided not to. Last year we said.
Complete.
Just which ones that are
Process.
completed?
Completed.
Yeah.
We'll have to
Star by those.
We'll have to remove
Two.
two.
Two's gone.
Two's done. I used it
So-
the other day.
That's
So
what
did
I'd
I.
say.
It's a windy one.
ADA
How
compliant.
funny.
Craftsmanship on that concrete out.
Right. All right, so
So
yeah.
that'll come out for the next one and we'll vote on it.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll
cool.
send it out probably around
Across the street.
April 1st, somewhere around there.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Is there any new additions to there or write-ins that if you
Well,
don't see it
all
on
right,
there, should we
so I
write in
guess
something?
off the top of your head, anyone, can you think of a trail that you would like to see in town that isn't on that map right there?
It's gonna be
Oh,
tough.
my lord.
Yeah.
We're being too big. Serious.
That's not a
Maybe
fair
that's what
question.
we write in. Yeah, that seems like a big, oh man.
Well, what we could do is, when you send it out, we could send the current trails map. This shows everything.
Yeah.
All the trails?
Plus these ones.
I have
You
some
can take
sidewalks
pride
I'd want to
before
put
up,
in, but that's
like-
not what we do here.
Why not? Because of
Trail, yeah.
engineering.
Can we pretend it's a
Yeah,
trail?
I mean,
That's already gone, right? So you gotta update, the map to number 9's gotta be taken off because of the engineering? The safety.
Or you could leave it on and just know that it
Yeah.
has to come up on the rise. It was
Come up on the fire path?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that it has to come off. We just know that there's challenges.
Yeah, we have definitely learned anything along McCaslin, just build a retaining wall.
Huh.
Well,
It
and
is
Good to know.
it's become the challenge. Even this trail number 1 here,
oh yeah.
has to wrap down this way, low water crossing, and then zigzag back up. So we were looking at a 12-foot tall retaining wall. And I mean, if we
That's
just with the
attractive.
retaining wall, we were priced out of the budget.
Sure.
And this little cut through, retaining wall.
Is that because of erosion and
Yeah.
safety? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are definitely we're learning the ropes here on some of the design.
Okay.
If you keep going up, 6 is still,
6,
Or
I think,
10 is-
we did this 6 was kind of pre-roundabout, pre-Shan
Yeah.
property.
6
so
and
I think
10.
10 was pre-Rogers, Rogers Farms.
Farm, yeah.
Concept submittal. So I definitely think that all these things are in play.
Okay.
you know.
And so 6 and 10, so just say 10, the Rogers Farm, is that gonna be on town's money or is that gonna be developers'
I
money?
think this group lobbied pretty hard to be
Yeah.
on their dime.
So
Be on-
this is one where we kind of differed with OSAC, is they kind
Yeah.
of put it as a high priority, and we marked it as like, hey, wait, why don't we try to get the developer to pay for
Pay
this?
for it.
Or,
Yeah,
at the
remember
very
this
least,
discussion last
why
year.
do anything before we know what the development is?
Kind of like Zaharias.
Absolutely.
Well, and
You
it's
know.
interesting too, because I think that I think that they see the value in
The connectivity.
trailhead as well.
Yeah.
And I think that there's
Huge.
an opportunity to maybe not have to always spend the town's money on even a Shan trailhead when they have to put in infrastructure. So yeah, I totally think that.
I think
on the
we
developer.
definitely need to put this bill on the developer.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely, 110%.
Patrick, where does that stand, or Sandy, where does that stand at this point? That Rogers Farm? I mean, is the developer really saying that they're just gonna move forward with what they're allowed to do without any changes?
So I think that they'll come back. I'm sure they'll come back at some point with, they're actually pretty good about trying to incorporate board feedback. So I think they'll come back.
I don't know, that last meeting was pretty hostile, I mean, they really didn't seem very happy with the board's comments.
At Rogers Farm.
Yeah,
Well, you can't, we don't know what's gonna happen, and you can't speculate one way or the other. I mean,
Yeah,
because last we heard is Zaharias, I think, is planning to come back with some kind of submittal. They didn't want.
okay.
And that was pretty
You-
contentious.
that's harsh.
Yeah.
And apparently Anderson's has another submittal?
And,
Is that correct?
We don't have we've reviewed like an initial, but they have to incorporate all of our comments still, so we should probably have that next week too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are staff comments they have to incorporate, you're saying?
That's just to be compliant with code.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, once it goes past that, 'cause we won't even show that stuff to the board until the staff approves it. And then, even then, it's gotta go, you guys, OSAC, planning commission.
Jeez.
So what about 20? Trail 20?
Take that out.
Is that out?
That's not a trail, that was a sidewalk,
I
that
was just
never
gonna
should have
say,
been in there.
that's a sidewalk, I think.
Is that the in between? Where's
That's like where those
Those new-
townhomes got built.
That's 6 of them?
Yeah.
Right there, those
It's a
two-story
sidewalk.
ones are in a
Oh,
row?
I'm well aware. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm well
Oh,
aware.
oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
No, that's a public works
Didn't
project.
even know what I was talking
That's
about.
not a trail.
He walks home too.
Yeah, I know, I know
think
where he
that
lives,
was,
I know.
it was the last
Walk
that we
right
had
around.
last.
Yeah, so I would say number 2 and number 20 have to come off this list.
2 and 20.
Yep.
2 is the little one that was built, or we built this past year along Colton.
Oh, the one.
It's a Dr. Cog one.
Dr. Cog's way up.
I know.
What's
Where's
17?
the sense of that?
Is 17,
17 was the placeholder for you, Corey, and the town center trails.
thank you.
You were welcome.
I just didn't see any yellow around it, so I was asking.
No, that was we just can't forget that it's out there. It's a priority to make sure there's connectivity.
I love it, thank you.
So
So is
17 is all you, man.
That's what I like to hear.
Is 13 just a crossing?
I thought we, yeah,
13
yeah. Tom,
13 was
what's
getting
17?
it over the road.
They gonna build it over the road?
This
Big
one.
things happening.
There's an
It's your
underpass.
priority.
Isn't there another?
Yeah, but the underpass just gets you to Marshall.
Yeah.
And once you hit
This is
Marshall, it's
across-
There is a
like, where do you get
tunnel
across
It's
Marshall?
a-
The
That's
underpass
state
there,
highway.
it doesn't- This was
Wrong
to
corner.
do a safe crossing over Marshall Road.
Oh, Marshall, that's a good one.
Okay.
Past it over.
Yeah.
Where did we end up with that? I thought we couldn't do anything there because of DOT.
It's not ours. It's a state highway.
So,
Why is
I
it
think
on
that's,
our
I'd have to read
Take it
back
off.
through the list, but if I remember, the recommendation was like, regardless of what happens, it's gotta be 100% safety's gotta be the paramount. And then we did a little bit of work to look at continuing the underpass, so an underpass to an underpass. But the way you'd have to angle that underpass, it was pointing it towards Lewisville's property, the water treatment plant. And we were at like $7.6 million by the time you went under again and did an underpass again. But I think, and we could look at the comments on it, but let's see. we have a recommendation out there where you guys really got into the meat and potatoes of making sure that it was really safe. And I could probably find that in the old notes.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be nice for the new folks that if we had any of our conversations about some of these things from last year, so that they can understand some of the stuff that we've already talked about when they're looking at the trails, because they may not know that that
Yeah.
Marshall one, we just talked about.
Yeah.
Let me.
I mean, I know it's $7 million.
We'll have to go back and see
I'll make sure you guys have that because all the comments.
what the finished list was.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And it's a little, it's a little bit like the,
So the one difference with the 5-year trails plan and this amenities priority list is we do this as a shared exercise with OSAC. So OSAC's 9 members will fill out the same list. And so we essentially, we have an OSAC list, we have a PROSTAC list, then we take all 18 and do how that shakes out together. And then we have to look at really where, because what ends up happening, or what ended up kind of happening last year is that a lot of OSAC's priorities kind of leapfrogged our priorities. Because like we still voted on them, so when you add like their high vote and then our like kind of medium low vote, all of a sudden they got really high vote tabulations on everything. And so we had to sit down with OSAC and kind of negotiate whether or not some of the things need to be actually dropped down a little bit. Because otherwise, like Shan I think ends up like at the top of the list when we weren't really that much in favor of it. It's just it gets a little complicated, but
Should lock it up.
But it's getting better organized because you guys are sitting down and using the same numbers for everything.
exactly.
2
So-
years ago,
trail
they had
numbers.
their own list, we had our own list, we tried to
And
put it all
with no
together.
mathematical
Okay.
Hopefully this year.
backup on how everything shook out. I mean, at least this way, you can look at the math and then you can have some open-ended discussion.
They took everything off their list that was even approved, right, or something like that?
They didn't vote on
Well,
it, so that's why
I think
other
what
ones
they
got
did was
higher.
like they put them as like low priorities because they thought it was going to happen.
Right.
And so that's how things like Shan ended up so high. They voted higher on stuff that was not in any planning stage and low on stuff that was. Whereas we took a more like open, as imagine it's not in the planning stages. What is the priority? Simply, what is the highest priority? Whether it's been discussed at this point or not.
Until it's built.
Yeah, until it's built, it remains whether it's a high priority or a low priority until it's built. Whereas they took the viewpoint of, well, they just thought, oh, it's going to be built, therefore it's not a high priority anymore. And that's where the things got a little strange. So, all right.
Yeah, I'll package all that up, I'll find all those comments, I can pull up that old recommendation. Because we talked about that, Davidson Mesa. Part
A
of
few
this
times.
Separate is a couple standalone items, so definitely worth us to
All right.
Okay, so let's look at the amenities priority list. So the way the way this is done.
That's yours. This one's mine.
If for those who haven't been here, or those who haven't remembered, is so I took everyone's ranking of if it was a high, it got a 1. If it was a medium, a 2, a low, a 3, and then added up. So it's basically if it had the lowest score, it's at the top of the list. If there's ones that had, there were a couple that had say 12. That was the number. So like say 3 of them had 12. The way I sorted those out of which came first was I would look at, well, if it had a 12, well, which one had the highest number of highs or the highest number of highs and mediums, or which one had an actual 1, 2, 3 like high group top 3 vote, or which one had a ideal for 2017, 2018. So I just had to make kind of a judgment call on those. But otherwise, I mean, it came out pretty straightforward, with the exception of a couple that had a tied vote. The rec center comes out on top. The skate park is one that definitely moved up this year to 2, and then the upgrading of the West Fields at Community Park that stayed in the top 3. So what actually bumped down from last year, I think, is the multi-purpose field. Again, that's the town center. You know, it's been earmarked for town center all along. And then this cooperative effort with the school, I think that might have fallen in place from where it was last year. I guess that still exists. The possibility still exists. It's just it hasn't really gotten. Has the cooperative effort with the school district on the field, has that really changed from last year as far as the probability?
It's in the, we're planning on it. We haven't heard definitive.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
but it's in the budget.
so those are our, you know, top 5. Anything, so the way that if you look at the left column for high, medium, low, anything that had a score of below 15, this is, I mean, you're not seeing what the score was because I replaced it with a high, medium, low. But anything that had a score of below 15 got a high, between 15 and 20 got a medium, and then if it had a score of higher than 20, it got a low. So the majority come out with a medium. That was kind of the sweet spot, that like 15 to 19 votes, vote total. That's what most of the amenities there had. I mean, anyone concerned with where any items came out, or?
I have a comment.
Sure.
I personally play tennis, and I don't know when they did this survey what the situation was, but right now we have 4 courts that very much all the fall and spring they are used by Monarch high school kids from 3:30 to 5, and then for lessons from 5 to 7. So very much the time that anyone that works or goes to school is out of the question. Even in the mornings, when I play in the mornings, and even in the mornings they are pretty full lately. Then the weekends we have lessons, camps, people that come from all over. There's very unlikely that you can get a court without waiting maybe an hour or going somewhere else. You end up going somewhere else, is more likely. There is 30 kids in Monarch, the ones that are practicing, just the university team, the girls, has 30 kids. Supposedly they are supposed to use 3 courts, they use 4 of them, but even using 4 of them, it's like 8-10 kids per court, so they have to practice at some other times. So anyway, generally speaking, the situation with the tennis courts is a little bit difficult. For the record.
Yeah, tennis courts is always a big demand.
And I think it's growing. I mean, at least for the years that I've been playing, it used to be relatively easy to get a court. Now you see more and more people. Part of it, I think, is because they are so nice that everybody comes here from everywhere. But part of it is because they are being used for lessons, groups that don't leave any time for the residents, the ones that just go to play.
So is your concern the need for more courts or the management of the existing courts?
Probably. I mean, I'm sure we could manage more, the ones that we have, but considering how many people are, because all these kids that are doing the junior varsity, boys and girls, and all those kids that start the lessons with TED, maybe not all of them, but many of them are playing. Now we are talking that we are building more homes here, so there's going to be still more people. So I think both. frankly.
And that's really good insight and information that, I don't know, I'm sure it's not easy to collect it, but it would be, I think, not to make things more complicated, but to understand what the utilization is for each of these amenities. So I do play tennis occasionally, but it's like, you know, so it sounds like the tennis courts are maxed out, right? So the pools in the summer, you know, I don't really go swimming, so I'm not sure, I don't have any visibility to how, you know, maxed out or popular those are, but it would be, that would help in the decision, I think, to understand like which amenities are maxed out, which ones are sufficient. Because I was basing my ratings on the community surveys and my personal observation of, you know, walking by and seeing, oh, look, you know, the pool looks, you know, half empty today, or, you know, the tennis courts, you're right, there's always people on the courts, even at like 10 o'clock at night sometimes.
Yeah.
So, so that's, I think, input into this.
And another thing is, I was surprised because the addition of another outdoor pool, I'm going to give you my thinking. When I saw it the first time, I thought, we already have 2 outdoor pools, we don't need another one. And then I was thinking, well, we are building a bunch of homes here, and I could see that it was proposed in the new town center, and I said, well, that makes sense, that with all these houses here, we don't want to have the other ones overcrowded, and it would make sense for all these houses to have a pool somewhere here. So I was a little bit surprised that no one else might have thought that, but that's my point. That my first opinion was, we don't need them, but then if you think about it a little bit, maybe we need them.
So outdoor pool is definitely something that's come up in the discussion of town center. At this point, I think, you know, anyone that seems to be talking about a pool seems to be leaning more towards the need for indoor pool. You know, if you're talking about adding a new pool, that's where the talk of putting the bubble over the north pool came from. Now, if you start talking about a rec center, yes, that should almost definitely.
The problem with outdoor pools is you only get limited between
3 months
between Memorial Day and Labor Day.
Right. Right, and theoretically, though, the large rec center pool indoor would alleviate some of the outdoor.
Year-round 365.
Yeah. So,
Maybe.
so
I mean,
think
definitely the outdoor
yeah.
pool, I think, is something for the future.
I think there's been some pressure on, like, hey, to the developer of town center, of you know, if you're really concerned about this for all your new residents, you know, why don't you come up with a solution for it? Why should the town come up with a solution for it? That's why I think, at least, you know, I'll speak for myself as someone that's been here long enough. That's why I rank the outdoor pools low. Because I'm like, well, if we're talking about town center, that should really fall on the developer, not. I mean, the pools in Rock Creek, those were built by the developer of Rock Creek Ranch.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they were ceded over to the town, you know.
But they started with
But
that.
they were built by Richmond. And so if you look at that, it's kind of the same approach, I would say. And, you know, if you're inside my mind, that.
That could be. And I don't know, definitely places, that's something maybe for the future, not for right now, but that was my opinion.
So is the idea that these top 3 are like the ones we're gonna focus on and try to actually get something done?
Well, it's kind of the idea of, you know, if PROSTAC is really tasked with, you know, the working on what's the highest need in town is.
Mhm.
This helps give us some idea of what that is.
Okay.
Granted, the rec center is the most expensive item on this list. So
But it's
if-
probably the most complicated item on
and
this
the
list.
most complicated.
Yeah.
So
by far.
if we're flat out told, no, you do not have $25 million, get realistic, then all of a sudden we're looking, well, okay, so skate park is something that's a lot more realistic.
Yeah, and doable, yeah.
You know, we could potentially do that. You know, as something for next year. I doubt we could do that as our like playground improvement. It's going to probably cost more than $35,000 to revamp the South Pool skate park. So that's something we might potentially talk about when we get to that conversation of the the $35,000 for the playground improvement.
And Peter, that's a good point, because, now that you have these things ranked, you look down and say, well, what's the highest ranked thing that we could afford with that 35,000 on this list?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, that honestly, the 35,000 probably makes us jump way down the list. We're probably all of a sudden looking at something like
12.
I mean, you probably actually could build a single tennis court for 35, but you'd have to figure out where that's going to go. But you're probably talking like outdoor teen amenity, pickleball court, the standalone basketball hoops. Those are things we could probably start talking about within the 35,000.
Okay.
We only have $35,000 for.
So each year we have $35,000 set
educational
aside
week.
for what we call a playground improvement. So it's to update or add to existing playgrounds in our parks. So that 35,000 has been somewhat of a problematic number. It's hard to get anything done for $35,000. But we will have a conversation in a month or so as to what we want to look at recommending as that item for this year.
A couple of years ago, we put in 3 picnic tables with covers at Community Park,
last year
the dog
was
park,
supposed to
and
be
the bike park.
Yeah, and
Yeah, it was
last
still
year
over
last
35
year was
for
supposed
those
to
3.
be embankment slide at Pirate Park, but it didn't get done because it was going to cost like twice that.
Yeah.
But didn't at the supper, though, the board said that if you found something that was even a little bit over, to still bring it, and that they would be willing to at least weigh in whether that.
Yeah, they basically said if we want to come up with something that's going to cost more than $35,000, bring it back to them as a special request.
But $35,000 is just for maintenance of, like you said, the skate park, not even that, but I mean, just to say,
Just to
the
fix the
community
pieces in the
park, we
skate
want to
park.
maintain those fields. I mean, that's probably.
Oh, yeah.
So 35,000 is intended for something a little bit more than just general maintenance.
It's like a small
It's
upgrade.
meant
It's like
more as like an
Improvement.
update.
Improvement or add to one of the parks.
An add on.
Right. Something that's missing.
Yeah, it's not meant to be like, new grass at the Westfields or something. I mean, that kind of falls
That's
under a
gonna take
different category
regrading
and
in the
stuff.
budget.
But then on top of that update, some of these things will get done or not, or just that update, that $35,000.
I think we need to revisit this topic next meeting.
Yeah, and like I said, that $35,000 discussion will be something that's specifically on the agenda in probably a month or two, when we start talking about budget. So,
I mean, so real quick, I think 1 and 2, just my take on it, make a lot of sense. Number 1 is driven by all the survey results say indoor space, indoor space, indoor space. So I think that's that's pretty much a given. Number 2, I didn't know the skate park was in disrepair, so I think that one makes a lot of sense. Number 3, I was hoping someone could help explain that one.
If you've ever been out there and watched the utilization on a weekend, and every year in the spring, the grass is really long and it's really wet. It doesn't drain right, and no matter what, my kids always come home with wet feet.
So, well, first, do you understand where we're talking? What we're referring to as the Westfields. So Community Park, where the football field is, the 2 baseball
Right.
fields,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then the playground.
Heavily utilized.
It's that large
right next to the
grass
bridge.
area that's
Yep.
to the west of the actual playground. That's where they do all like the
Soccer.
young
football,
youth sports,
youth
like
sports.
the YMCA soccer and stuff like that.
Yep.
But all that is a field that's just
It's a
maintained
park.
like any grass area in town.
It's mowed by.
It's not.
Well,
yeah.
it's meant to be
not-
long grass.
Yeah.
And if you cut it short to what you need as a playing field
It
grass,
dies off.
it'll die off, and so that's where it's always long and thick, heavy grass. It's a
Typically,
park grass.
They
So this
typically use
is-
the back 40 type field where kids get pickup games, because there's not really any open fields that they can really just do a pickup game. So I know like my kids a lot go out, try to meet out there and do kickball or something like that.
Mhm.
It's about the only open field in that area for them to use. Like
So,
a back 40
so
lot.
this,
And that's
this
where the
is
more
upgrading
athletic
that
fields-
surface to
Like
be
something-
graded and irrigated
Yep.
and everything for a
Okay.
more proper.
There was
plan.
lines painted on it the recently I
Yeah,
saw.
so
Soccer.
here's
They
the
mow
story
it.
with West, the story with West multi-purposes, it was never intended to be athletic services, ever.
Yeah.
So there is no drainage under it.
Yeah.
It's bluegrass like you'd have in your front yard. There's a huge drainage swale here that's, kind of partial flood mitigation, But it's got the wrong irrigation system for athletic use. The drainage stops down here. We have some grade issues. So there's been talk about, maybe potentially come in and level this and kind of open it up. I remember a couple of years back, there was even a discussion about you just take this would be some significant work, but you reroute the creek to take this out and pop this up, make the creek go from here to here and bring the sidewalk out. But it's,
That
right
doesn't
now
sound-
the YMCA
Doesn't sound
utilizes it. And it's serviceable at best.
Gotcha. So yeah, it sounds like it's an issue.
Yeah, and the biggest, and these guys are right, it's because it is backyard grass, you mow it, the Y wants to use it in September, we always still have hot weather, It's more dangerous for us to mow it short and then scalp it and then kill the grass.
Mhm.
People are fired up at us because the grass is brown, and then if you leave it, we mow it 2.5 inches, which is, with wet grass, it's too much for the kids, so. It's a nonstop fight.
So number 3 is more of a transformation of basically transforming it to what it's currently being used for.
It's
That makes sense, yeah.
repurposing an existing, area.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
and number
To-
4
to
is
come
almost the
into
same thing.
It sounds
line with what
broken,
it's
so.
actually being
Yeah.
used for, yeah.
And-
Wet.
And 4 really comes into that same thing, is just that all the multi-purpose fields are usually full.
Okay.
And that's where the Westfield improvement is one thing versus building a brand-new multi-purpose field, which is slated for town center.
Okay.
So,
Got it. Okay.
And then, number 5, cooperative effort with El Dorado. I mean, that again is a field. So 3 of the top 5 are basically fields.
Mm-hmm.
That's just trying to get yet another.
I like number 6, though. I want a beach.
Yeah.
Gotta work that one out.
Can we go there and use it, or what is that
Nah.
private?
Well, there's a bike path around there,
But
but
yeah, that's another one that I didn't really understand. That's why I had sent that email out asking, hey, does anyone have detail? Because I kind of guessed that's what some of these were, but.
So right now,
They haven't kicked me off.
only the residents, that,
Yeah.
the
I think
apartment
my kayak
residents,
Okay.
the Horizons or whatever it's called now, I can't remember.
Okay.
But you
Yeah,
can walk
flat
around the
irons.
path, don't you? Or you used to.
I guess there's
They're
nothing
like
keeping
here.
you from walking on the path, but I think if you actually want to use their little, beach area, you probably have to go through the clubhouse.
Well, it used to be that you don't, I don't know if that's.
Technically, it's for residents, whether or not they're actually checking IDs or whatever, but.
Yeah.
This
Well, I don't know.
this
Used
would
to
be
be
a,
would be
this would be a
like-
legitimate cooperation with them to allow all residents to be able to, use their little swim beach and I would guess launch a kayak or whatever, and paddle around.
What would we have to give to them?
Well, that's the thing.
That's the
I mean, there would have to be some type of agreement that would, I guess, would have some type of
Reciprocal.
usage fee or something.
Yeah, okay.
But they, so far, under the old owner, they weren't very cooperative. And I don't know, has anyone tried to talk to the new owner of Bell Flatiron?
It's worse than previous.
Worse? Okay.
Okay.
All right, well, I mean, if there's no other questions, then, I mean, this is just, we've established it for the year. So again, if we're talking about amenities,
I put
this
that.
is something for us
That's
to
where
refer back
I'm
to.
like-
That's
Great.
basically it. And it gives the board some, they'll see this,
That's the one
as
thing
part
that's
of the
not-
meeting notes.
the
And
one
so if
thing
they
that usually
care to look
created.
at it, give them some indication of where, PROSTAC
Yeah.
opinion is on the priority of amenities as well.
Quick question on the off-leash open space dog. So the only reason, so I have dogs that are always leashed, so this is actually not an interest for me. But the reason why I brought it up is because I've heard at town meetings that there's complaints about off-leash dogs. So I interpreted this one as basically open field designated area with a sign. So my question is, what is the expense and like management?
Oh man, like cleanup in dog parks
Well,
is insane.
it's,
Okay.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really becomes.
I mean, it is.
It's-
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
okay.
Well, this is really defined as to whether it would be an additional, like, still somewhat fenced area, or really just lifting the code,
On the trail.
off of the, I say Coyote Ridge area or
Right, and the
something.
waste is already a problem.
But the waste is already a problem,
Yep.
so yeah, and the town, until recently, has had practically zero enforcement of the leash law.
Right.
Well,
They
that's good to
stepped it
know.
up last year because of
They're
They're
complaints.
enforcing it now.
I'm not, I don't want my.
And so, but that comes at an expense to the town. You know, there's an expense to the town to maintain all the doggy poop stations.
Yeah, you're right.
There's
I mean,
expense to the
yeah.
town to enforce the leash law because people aren't following it. So you have to assume that you're either going to have some type of expense with enforcing any off-leash dog area, or you have what we basically had before, which was just a lawless land. And so what good does that really do? I mean, you're just going to have more complaints.
Yeah, you're right. I was assuming that, people would pick up there, because that's what I do, pick up
Right.
the waste
Yeah.
and be responsible about it. Now, I mean, so that's the information that, that's good to know.
So my personal opinion on that one also is that, I have a hard time believing the city's gonna actually lift the ban because of a safety issue that you have off-leash dogs and people, you can never guarantee nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's true.
You just can't guarantee that nothing's gonna happen. It may never happen, you just can never guarantee
We
it.
can
So
do
you're always
this
gonna have to have some kind of
inside
fenced
tab
area.
here.
Yeah.
And that
Is that
alone,
just
to building a
city?
big fenced area is gonna be, and where do you put that?
Right.
And then you're now segregating folks who were using an area that they can't use it anymore. Anyway, that's a big headache.
I gotcha. Yep, that makes sense.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I was thinking that, but.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Are they still putting a dog park in town center?
It's on the plan. Thanks a lot.
Right up near the cemetery on a hill with about a 40% grade. So
That
sounds
don't
fun.
throw a ball, because it's gonna roll
Yeah,
down the
that-
bottom of the hill.
So,
Well,
part of the-
just to add one thing here, Pete, just for the new people, just one thing, you guys were asking what this little thing we did was. When Town Center came up, this was a key ingredient. We already had stuff prepped, and it helped us tremendously trying to put together a plan for what PROSTAC wanted to see in Town Center. So that's kind of think of it as a big picture item.
and also the wildflower park,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
those that didn't get the memo, that's what. the
Also,
board
that was
wanted.
totally not one of our three
Wildflowers.
names.
No, it was not.
That was not one of our three names. I was so upset by that. I mean, like, we spent a crap ton of time, like, voting and doing, I mean, Wildflower is a lovely name, but like, seriously?
The board was not satisfied.
I can give
Are
you
they
the
wildflowers?
30-second synopsis that we kind of were going by a certain set of rules that we were trying to,
Board didn't play by those rules.
And they said, it's their prerogative, they said, well,
Yeah.
you want to go, and I knew a neighbor who did this, and, and this is a kind of an inspiration for this, the information that we didn't have, and that's what inspired it all.
Yeah.
That's
So-
lovely.
So-
I'm good with it, I just.
Do you see it well?
But like Ron, what
Never
Ron
been-
was
I
trying to
don't
say
even
is,
know what
yeah,
this
when we're looking at
Seriously?
an opportunity
don't- I
to
wanna take
knock
it.
out a bunch of amenities, like in the new parks in Town Center, the new park by El Dorado,
I just live here.
that's
I don't
where
go over
something
to
like
this
this
area.
came in very useful. Because
park.
then we
That's the
really
school.
did have a larger budget to work with. We could look at some of these
There's all the
bigger
names.
items at the top of the list and actually get them.
And we pushed for tennis courts, they just didn't do it.
Yeah, tennis
There you
courts
go.
was, it was
It's
in
beautiful.
some of
Where are
the
the
original
flowers?
design concepts for the
There?
El Dorado.
Right here. This is the old
And
original
then
plan.
Park 3 at Town Center.
They actually
Supposed
did
to
plant them.
All right, so move
What
on
kind of
to.
grass is up at Wildflower?
Wildflowers?
No, is it the same grass we put in it, is it?
Is it
No,
really?
no, that's a playable grass.
I think so.
Yeah, that's like.
We're calling it Wildflower.
So we
There's
can, we
wildflowers
can
there.
apply our $35,000 to putting a field in there when much
Yeah,
everybody's
that's
disappointed.
like,
Yeah.
that's like legit grass.
Okay.
Where?
Just curious.
I don't know.
Oh.
So
So-
talking about Wildflower
They put
Park,
that, they
Yeah.
put
are we
sports
supposed,
grass
when we
there.
were supposed to
One of
go
the
to the
red.
inauguration?
Yeah, so-
Are we supposed to do something?
Kids are using it all the
So
time.
the updates
They
that
put up
look
soccer
ahead,
goals all the time.
The big one is Arbor Day, but let me just make, it's not on here. So regarding this, the off-leash, the dog poop problem.
Yeah, I'll change that to
O-
low now that I
OSAC,
understand the challenges.
OSAC is trying to organize a kind of dog waste cleanup
Cleanup.
day on April 22nd. And
That's
so
gonna be popular.
if anyone wants to partake in that, but they're doing it as this loosely organized event where you basically sign up, you say you're gonna pick up dog waste. They drop off like bags and gloves at your house and you just go out on your own.
It's like you pledge to do it.
And, yeah, you pledge to do it. You gotta do it in whatever area of town and for however long you want.
It's like an adopt a highway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on April 22nd.
I'll be
So-
doing it just because I have dogs, so.
So I'll mention
I'll
that
accept
as, you know, look ahead. So Arbor Day celebration, which is also gonna be the Wildflower Park grand opening, is April 15th, 9 to noon. If, you know, if you can be there, great. We'll probably man a informational table where we can just sit there and talk to anyone that wants to talk to us about park stuff. Mostly we'll probably just be talking about that park, you know, let people pass in the back or whatever. But it, you know, if anyone is really enthusiastic about wanting to do something for it, one thing that they usually do is some type of like arts craft project for kids, right? Is staff going to organize that, or is PROSTAC going to be involved in maybe organizing something like that?
Yes.
I mean, if we have a table,
So-
then we could think about, if anyone wants to take this offline in the next like week or two and propose an idea of maybe something, an activity to be doing at the PROSTAC table.
So
Or maybe we get that disc golf thing again.
I
Get
like
hit
the
by
disc
some
golf. That's what I'm
disc
talking
again.
about.
I have the basket.
Yeah, that was popular.
I love
We
that
just
one.
got-
I'll man that for the first couple hours. I'll man it for the first couple hours. I'll get plenty of kids in there.
Well, or even, what are all like,
Until,
at
no,
that
like, kids have soccer
volunteer
game at noon that day.
day,
I'll
there are
run
all
those.
those like lawn games. Does the town own those?
The volunteer day, yeah, those were cool.
Because, I mean, Corey and I had a blast doing the ring thing.
Oh, yeah. We were chasing all kinds of kids around.
Were you
Yeah.
doing that thing that wrapped around the?
Yeah. We still have them there, just.
To try and get the disc in the
Tetherball.
little circle,
Yeah.
yeah, no.
Oh, it's a littler.
There were a bunch of them. They had
That's
the
the-
giant,
Some fun things.
like Jenga tower.
It
And
was like a
Yeah,
tailgate
they-
party.
they-
What is that? Those are the
anyway, so maybe we can
Lawn-
think about
lawn
having an
golf.
activity like that to do a
1,
little
2,
more than we
3, it's
normally
like
do.
a ladder golf.
And
ladder
then,
golf.
Patrick, I'll let you do the B and C.
Yep.
Just quickly though, typically, I mean, Arbor Day is about planting trees. Are you intending to plant trees at the new park? And you have locations of where and how many or stuff like that?
Locations.
Just wanted to double check, because that's another, the games, while some plant and some games, you know.
Are you gonna invite people to plant the trees?
What's
Is that
that?
what you're gonna do? Invite the people who show up to the Arbor Day to plant trees?
Usually they get
Yeah,
like
we
Boy,
normally-
like
Seeds
Boy
and
Scouts,
trees.
right?
No, they're,
Normally, Vargas will come out and kind of dig the holes, and it's a little bit more of an education, you know. Kids can kind of throw the dirt in, and Matt Rarick on our staff kind of goes over the planting process, we talk about cutting the wires, cutting the burlap, how to fertilize them from the get-go, and actually how to plant them, so you don't telephone pole them, you know, when you see them really straight like that at the bottom, that's actually not healthy, so we go over a whole spiel. I think we'll probably do 4 to 6 trees, because it just doesn't need a lot.
Yeah.
You know, we've done it over here for years, because we had to cut like 30-some, 40-some trees out of the original plan on Founders Park, so that's why year after year, we've been planted them down at Autry Park, so.
Nice.
Good.
just wanted to throw that out there. Understanding of the,
Of
the
Arbor-
day,
of
yeah.
the day of Arbor.
Yeah, you know, I mean, come on, that's what it's about, not the.
It's about the park.
Trees in the
All right,
park.
track
Track
dates.
dates, open space, we've been asked by the board to bring forward an FQP pretty quick. So the committees will get to review that again, good time to make the comments. So that will SAC, Planning Commission, PROSTAC, and then we'll take all three committees' feedback. And then we'll have to update the board during the meeting because the board has requested packets a little bit earlier, so the timing is going to be really, really tight on this one. Coal Creek Crossing Trail connection to Mayhaw for Single Tree is still under review by the Fish and Wildlife. We're not really even getting phone calls back at this point, but I think that they're like a lot of bigger government entities, they're just going through a lot of shift and change and uncertainty right now. So our 200 feet of trail, I just
Not a
that's
priority.
probably not on their priority list right now.
And then project work teams, if, can't remember off the top of my head who signed up for what, but if you were on the work team for indoor space, I think after the next meeting, once we've kind of have, this mock-up with a budget put together on an indoor space, and we make a recommendation to the board, then that'll probably kick over to the project team a little bit more. If the board wants us to proceed, then the project team will probably be more involved with getting some public engagement moving on that and kind of next steps. For the master plan, staff is working on getting us a document that we can edit.
Cool.
And so once we have that, you think you'll have that pretty soon?
It may not be the Google Doc.
Blue Beam.
Yeah,
What is Blue
I don't
Beam?
know. It's,
just
well,
figured out.
the editable
No, I use it every
Word
day.
is completely doable right now, but Google Doc does not like any of the graphics or any of the tables or anything.
I mean, can we at least just get it in like a Word document format?
Yeah,
that
yeah.
can
We
like-
have-
Give it
yeah.
to you right now.
It's in a Word doc,
Okay.
yeah.
So we'll
I was just
try
trying to get
something
a
that
cloud-based.
that we can do.
Share version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could put it in Dropbox.
Yeah. Well, we'll figure it out. But we'll basically
If
do
you get
is
it to me,
some
we
type
can
of
just get it
version
out to everyone.
that we can redline, and so each of us can kind of work on kind of removing.
I think I have it,
what's-
but I'm not sure if I have the Word document.
what's not relevant anymore and stuff. That'll be our starting point. If you did the mountain bike or trail maintenance, I know you wanted to do mountain bike. You're free to get started on that.
Yeah.
If whenever you can, start thinking about it. But I would say if we want to think about, like, say, another Coyote Ridge Trail Maintenance Day, maybe May or June for that. So we'll start thinking about that. And if, one thing would be if you walk that area at all and you're interested in this, kind of check off in your mind areas that we might need to work on. We kind of identified areas last year that we didn't get to, so we have some idea of it, but we'll probably try to get a volunteer day again sometime in the late spring. I think that's it for really active work team.
So I got some ideas for that thing I want to run by you guys.
Let's get an email.
Have you heard of Cars and Coffee? Cars and Coffee is like a lot of times once a month, people who have exotic cars or really nice cars, they'll meet up and they'll talk about the Cars and Coffee, bikes and coffee.
All right.
In front of Sunny's, in front of the
Well,
Dulles
bikes and
Stop, and just do tours
beer.
of
It works a lot better.
Superior and
I'm
just,
just saying.
you do it like
Bikes
once a month
and
and do
beer.
tours.
I
and
would
whatnot.
totally go to Bikes and Beer. I wouldn't go to Bikes and Coffee.
Well, you
Bikes
can
and
do it later
Beer.
in Bikes and Beer. but
Bikes
yeah,
and Beer
Bikes and
sounds a
Beer-
lot. I'm just saying, screw the bikes.
I will say that
Town
we
can
do
sanction that
we
one.
do an annual superhero beer
It's not drinking
bike
right.
ride. Once a year, we'll go through Erie and dress up as superheroes and ride our bikes from bar to bar to bar.
Yeah,
But that's probably not appropriate
for
Called a
this
pub
town.
because after you're like your fifth
I'll
bar
email you
as
about
a
stuff
superhero
for
and
the
your
Arbor Day
cake
thing.
is
So I'll do
Okay.
that. I don't know what the games are and stuff, but I'm happy to
I'll send
see
you
it
it.
personally.
All right.
I want to do it. on Sunday,
Meeting
and say,
adjourned.
hey, you know, this
Meeting
is kind of-
adjourned.
and you-
Wonderful.
Yeah, they had
There's like
a
a
bunch of stuff like these.
ring toss,
Yeah.
the ladder golf, big Jenga, big 2x4 Jenga.
Yeah, there's disc golf, basket, What else do they have at that?
And the other thing you want.
They had the ice cream.
And then who brings it? Like, who's actually like setting up the table? Like, do we have
Typically,
the staff
typically
sets up
staff
the
Well,
table.
but
has
if
it,
we
yeah.
want to do a special activity, we would
We would
probably
bring it.
bring it.
Okay.
So, but usually staff sets up,
want to
you know,
pick it right on
99% of
start throwing some
the event.
I'm telling you, we need that. We need the frisbee golf out there.
All right, let's do it.
I love the frisbee golf.
As much as I like all you guys, I am taking you out.
I haven't separated.
Wow! Wow!
I got to go.
And you know, you can tell design. Yeah, because we can do it during. I can do it.
Cold Creek.
Oh, yeah, I'm happy to talk. Not making you happy. No, I'm happy to talk to you about it.
That's all I have for, thank you.
Yep, no.
I'm about to come over and see your new office.
Check out the
We
digs,
need to go
man.
see his new office.
Check out the
For y'all to know
digs.
how we can not turn around and look out at the hockey.
Our blinds are up. They went up today. The blinds are up in the
Yeah,
offices.
his, he looks out over the west
Yeah.
hockey rink. Yeah.
Man, we've
It's-
seen some good ones. There was a sweet fight. Today. And then
Is
like,
this yours?
it is not mine. And then they're,
I think that might be Kendra's.
they're elite, like,
Oh, no, it's Kendrick's. I don't want to leave there.
I
Are you?
believe there was a bunch of meetings in here today.
Oh,
I'll just make sure,
okay.
actually, I think it was part of one.
I was gonna say, 'cause that's a little, you know, if it's Kendrick's, it's better not be.
It's